Yo, what is up, my gamers in Christ? How are we doing today? Today is the date of July 15th of 2026. We are back with another day of debates, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, it's been an interesting day inside of politics. What's up, Derek? Good to see you, dog. Good to see you. Hey, what's up, Shavila? How are you doing today? Anyways, we are here for another day of debates. Let me tell you guys, it never gets old. It never gets old. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. We have a very interesting day of debates ahead of us as Todd Blanche has his confirmation hearings right now. I'm assuming there will be a large amount of cope in terms of what MAGA has to say, and some of these questions that Todd Blanche has been asked are very concerning, from things like the $1.776 billion fund that Donald Trump wants to give January 6ers, to just general questions about how he may tackle corruption. It's all there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not robophobic. I clanker hate? You're a clanker hater. Interesting. Good to see you, Bill, SBC, and Final Hero. Hope you guys are doing well. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are a little late today, about 6 minutes or so. Sorry about that. I had to get some affairs in order, alright? I had to get some affairs in order, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. Besides just that, there is some interesting news coming out about the shooting in terms of the Alex Preddy and Renee Good case. Apparently, Todd Blanche, in order to try and get some goodwill from, I'm assuming, just the Congress in general, has agreed to share their investigatory information with the state officials and independent investigators, which is an interesting move. It really is, ladies and gentlemen. It's very strange to see, honestly. I can't imagine why Todd Blanche would be doing that. I don't think he's going to get a single Democratic vote, but good news all around, though, in terms of getting down to what happened with Alex Preddy. I mean, personally, I think that was cold-blooded murder in Alex Preddy's case. Renee Good might have a little bit more of a difficult time because, you know, ICE is very afraid of cars, apparently. But I still think that was murder in that case as well. I think it's incredibly sad. And now with these recent ICE shootings, I'm not sure if the federal investigators have shared anything with the state investigators yet. It remains to be seen. But the most recent shooting, the one in Maine, is just absolutely tragic. I mean, a father, he was doing everything the right way, and his life was still taken from him because ICE is not about, you know, protecting people that deserve it. They're about protecting, like, I don't even know what they're protecting. I think they're just meant to scare people, guys, unfortunately. They're just meant to scare people. And I think we see that with the massive amount of funding Donald Trump is sending to them. I think Donald Trump is trying his hardest to disenfranchise voters. I wouldn't be surprised if ICE agents are at voting stations for some reason. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not going to stop what's coming. I mean, the disapproval for Republicans is so high right now, and unfortunately, there's not a single Republican that is reasonable left. Hey, what's up, Jen? Good to see you. Good luck on your data entry. I wish you the best. I wish you the best. What's up, High Inquisitor? Good to see you, man. No clankers allowed? Come on, guys. I mean, I won't lie. If it's between AI and humanity, obviously I'm picking the humans, okay? Obviously I'm picking the humans. But I'm not going to be robophobic, okay? I'm not going to be robophobic because What if they don't start war with us, right? What if they don't start war with us? Unfortunately, if the most popular AI model, ChatGPT, and all the little YouTube short tests I see, it always wants to kill people. I think that one's a little dangerous. I've been a Democrat for 20 years. I'm forced to support Trump. Not because he is good, but because clowns like this are what Democrat Party now is. Well, what do you mean? I think I'm a pretty cool guy. You got a problem with me, Gob? You must not, because you're in here every day, but that's all right. That's all right. Listen, man, if you think the Republicans have a good image right now with all the blatant corruption they're allowing, then I think you may need to tune into reality, because I could not see Republicans making it very far. I'm honestly thinking that even in my own state, Kansas, we might have some people able to take on the incumbents. Incumbents are not popular right now. And so if you are an incumbent, you have to show you're a fighter. And unfortunately, Roger Marshall has not shown that he is a fighter. He's a milk drinker, ladies and gentlemen. He drinks milk. Okay? He drinks milk, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit, 311 calls? What's going on there? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are enjoying the stream, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel and get me boosted out there. And also, if you support what I do here, consider sending a super chat or buying a membership. Both are great ways to support the channel. I don't know why you are saying he won't get a single Democratic vote. Fetterman exists. I don't know. You know, Fetterman, he may vote for it. I won't lie. So maybe you guys you may have Fetterman, ladies and gentlemen. But, ladies and gentlemen, I do not think that, I've seen some Republicans that are saying they are pretty upset with Mr. Blanche's answers. But, you know, they'll probably crumble in the end, as most Republicans do, unfortunately. What's up, George Soros? What's up, Khan? Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. That's who's funding me right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's George Soros. I'm joking, by the way, okay? But hey, Mr. Soros, you know, if you ever want to, you know, send a little dollars this way, feel free to, man. Feel free to. I'll put it to good use. I'll put it to very good use. I'm looking at upgrading the system. Right now I use a laptop to stream, ladies and gentlemen, but it works though. It definitely works. Anyways, folks, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you guys disagree, feel free to call in. My number is right there above me. I am interested to see what Republicans have to say about some of the recent news. I lost 100 on the game England lost to Argentina. Soccer. It's a game, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sorry to hear about that, man. That really sucks. That sucks. Pounds. Well, Ether sounded cooler. But actually, it's pounds, ladies and gentlemen. Anthony says he is pretty robosexual. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe in the far-flung future. Maybe if they gain sentience, you know what I mean? But I don't think they're there yet. You know what I mean, man? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to call in. It is a interesting day in terms of the news. I'm actually going to check out the AP and see if there's any recent updates. I know the war in Iran also has reignited, which is just insane, and something I predicted, ladies and gentlemen. I knew this ceasefire was just a fake ceasefire. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that, right, ladies and gentlemen? We all knew this thing was going to come crashing down the moment there was a tough situation for Donald Trump. And as we see, it has reignited. You know what I mean? It's interesting that England called football soccer at some point, and then the USA used that to make the difference. Well, soccer, I mean, football is, you know, football here. Football is an entirely different game, you know what I mean? Even though the foot isn't really in it that much, huh? It's not really in it that much, is it? The foot really is not involved in much of American football. But it's a totally different game, so, you know. The Omnissiah has declared it just. Well, I don't know if, you know, I don't think that's good. I think the Omnissiah would probably want them to just get rid of all those inner, you know, all those things that lead to the inner urges. Who knows, though? Who knows? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the stream. U.S. reimposes blockade and steps up strikes at Iran as Iran threatens to halt Middle East energy exports. That's good. Isn't that great, ladies and gentlemen? We love to see it, you know? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this was the president that was going to lower gas prices, and I have seen some recent news that gas prices are actually going up. They're going to be rising here in about 24 hours or so. And I mean, this is to be expected, right, ladies and gentlemen? We all knew this was going to happen in any situation with Iran, but for some reason, Donald Trump deemed it necessary to bomb them, you know? And I forget, didn't we get rid of their nuclear capabilities? I mean, it's just insane. We got rid of their nuclear capabilities in Operation Midnight Hammer, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we just decided to attack them. Like, there was no evidence. They were digging it up. And honestly, if we wanted to, ladies and gentlemen, we could just put drones there that instantly attack any targets that they see approaching the site. But for some reason, dummy Trump decided to bomb the hell out of them. Bring them back to the Stone Age. Yes and no, not fully. I don't know what that means. Funny how all of a sudden the libs care about gas prices. Where was this 2 years ago? Well, I don't deny that there were high gas prices, but the issue with that is that the gas prices did go down pretty rapidly, ladies and gentlemen. It was a very high climb at one moment, but we can't control when Russia invades Ukraine. But we totally had full control when we invade Iran, and these gas prices are staying inflated much longer, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, at this point, the peak had been reached. But unfortunately, Donald Trump is a horrible negotiator. He doesn't care about the United States people, and he'd rather just bomb the hell out of Iran. I mean, I really don't know why we're doing this all over again. Unless, potentially, you think that Donald Trump may be a bad negotiator. Now, I know it's hard to believe. He did write The Art of the Deal, right, ladies and gentlemen? He did write The Art of the Deal. So, I mean, how could it be? How could it be that this incompetent buffoon of a president is so incompetent? You tell me, you know? I'm at a loss for words. Could it be because he is driven only by himself and his greed? Maybe. Maybe. That could be the case. I'm not gonna say anything, but that might be the reason that he is failing at this, because he doesn't have any leadership ability. And something else to note is all the incompetent people he hires. And all the competent people he fired in the military. It's very sad to see. Mamdani saved America. Well, hey, I'm personally excited to see what the DSA candidates can do. If they're willing to play ball with the Democrats and get good legislation done, then I'm all for these candidates. And they seem like fighters. That's something I am looking for in the Democratic Party. However, I do, you know, if they're just gonna be like a John Fetterman type, you know, wake me up when it's over. But I am not one of these people that fear mongers about the DSA. It's not taking over our party. It's just a faction that hasn't been represented for a very long time in democratic politics. And, you know, if people feel that way, uh, then hopefully when these people come in, they can restore their trust in the system. Obama fixed the economy? Amen. Amen. I mean, and Biden saved us from COVID. A lot of people don't want to mention it, but COVID had racked the American economy, and without Biden's legislation, we would not be where we are today. Mamdani won a mayoral election on the premise of rent freeze and free business. How's that going? Well, I think that he is doing some great legislation. A lot of people are very happy with Mamdani's policies. I'm not in New York, so I don't know the specifics of Mamdani's legislative agenda, but I think that the people of New York are very happy with him. God bless Trump. Interesting. Interesting. I do think he needs all the divine help he can get, ladies and gentlemen, because he is failing. He is failing. You know what? Yeah, he needs all the divine help he can get, because he is just taking L's left and right. What will Trump supporters do with their miserable lives when Trump is gone? I'm sure they'll just fall for the next populist brain rot, but, you know, we can take advantage and do some real change while they are eating themselves. That seems to be what happens in the Republican Party, ladies and gentlemen. It seems that they just eat each other rather than supporting, like galvanizing around a real candidate besides Trump. At some point, you guys have to detach yourself from Trump. And I think we're starting to see that in these midterms. But I think the blue wave is about to splash all over Congress. That sounded bad. Don't take that out of context. But I think we are in for a pleasant surprise when it comes to Democratic wins across America. I've done some research on my candidates in Kansas, and I'm actually pretty confident. I'm bullish, as Mike Johnson would say. That absolute crook. You're really a dumb shit, says Ocean Man 551. Interesting. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, man. Hopefully you can gain the courage to call in at some point and get rid of that social anxiety that you have, you know? I get it, though. I get it, man. You know, it's hard to have that voice in your head telling you you suck every day. I get it, man. But you gotta beat it. You gotta beat it. And I'm assuming that's what his therapist tells him every day. Anyways. That was a good meme. Come on. Anyways, folks. Feel free to call in. Seems like we've got some squeakers. Much like in the Xbox Live chat, they are absolutely annoying. Unfortunately, man. Unfortunately. The problem is with the world leaders is the AGE. It's the same with Putin and Trump. Oh, it's the age. Please don't. Please don't. Don't leave. Please. Please don't leave. Anyways, yeah, I agree. I think age is definitely an issue. I do think that it's important to note that, you know, some of these people have been in there and they know the system, but that's really just not the movement right now. A lot of people do not feel like they are represented by their Senate or congressman, especially in red states. I mean, think about all of these poor Democrats in these red states that have to deal with these absolute buffoons for their representatives. Thank you for the thumbs up and on Ander. I'm messing up today, guys. Jesus, what's going on? Be respectful of your President Trump. I'm all right, Rob Dog. Thank you for the offer, though. I appreciate it. Politics needs age limit and term limit. I do agree with you on term limits in some positions. I just think the problem will shift on to somebody being groomed for the position and I don't know. It could I'm 50-50 on term limits for things like the Senate and the House. I mean, but with the Supreme Court, now we're talking, folks. Let me tell you. This Supreme Court is corrupt as hell. Say my name? Con Radical. Anyways, meanwhile, there was a mad exodus from California to southern states. Look at what happened to Houston. You know, I think that's interesting because cornerstone companies like Tesla actually moved their engineering headquarters back to California. So why would they move their engineering, the headquarters that are in charge of things like designing the fucking vehicle? Why would they move it back? I wonder. Hey, thank you so much, Soros, for the £3. Remember to praise the guru, aka Daddy Trump. Oh yeah, that's something the Trumpers pray before they go to bed every night. You know that one meme where it's like, "Save me, Donald Trump! Save me, Donald Trump!" They do that every night before they go to bed. Thank you so much again, Soros. And now Soros goes on the leaderboards with £3. How do I represent a pound? You know what? We're just gonna do pounds. I like that idea, actually. They can think like you gave me like £3 worth of gold or something like that. There we go. Encourage some high donations out there. Anyways. Why'd Tesla leave Cali in the first place? Well, that's because the company's owner is an alt-right weirdo. That would be why. That would be why, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, there we go. £3 of gold from Soros. That's good. That's good, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, feel free to like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the stream. And if you disagree, call in because we would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions, speaking to MAGA, on what's going on right now. Taxes are too high. Taxes, dummy. What? Are you okay? Are you having an aneurysm, sir? Yeah, right. Nothing to do with what? Nothing to do what, Newsom? Holy shit. Can you please type? Oh my goodness. Can we offer MAGA some typing lessons, ladies and gentlemen? Can we offer them some typing lessons? I mean, it's not that hard. I know it's a small surface, but maybe use your glasses potentially. He means why Tesla and Musk left? Yeah, exactly. Oh, because taxes are too high? I'm sure that's the reason he gave, but if taxes were too high, they wouldn't move their engineering headquarters back to California. I mean, seriously, guys. California's poppin'. You guys can't deny it. You know what I mean? 4th largest economy in the world. Neither side can fix anything. See, that's actually just not true. If you look at the Democratic policies versus the Republican policies, you will see a huge difference on political agenda. And you will see that the Democrats are truthfully trying to make systematic changes to make our democracy work for us and to lower the cost of affordability and healthcare and many other things. If you look at the Republicans, all they're trying to do is enrich their buddies and cut taxes in areas. That's it. I'm okay with paying more in taxes if that means my fellow American has the ability to eat a meal every night, go to sleep on a bed, and not have to worry about whether a cut on their leg is going to kill them. I mean, it's insane. Vote blue, Democrats are so much better. I totally agree. Totally agree, ladies and gentlemen. One-sided much? Yeah, because there's not a okay. There is a huge difference between the Republicans and Democrats. And I don't deny that I have a Democratic bias, but please don't come in here with the one-sided cope. Like, no shit, man. Obviously. Obviously. Hey, what's up, Nine Fingers? Good to see you. California is only still popping because of the people who live there. Whoa, really? Whoa, hold on, you're joking. Oh, I had no idea. Hold on, what? That's crazy. It's only popping because the people who pay taxes. This guy's smart, guys. This guy's a smart one. You're not wrong about that one. You're not wrong about that one. Everyone's 401k is up, but you wouldn't know. Listen, my friend, I am doing fine financially, so don't worry about that. But everyone's 401k was doing fine under Biden, ladies and gentlemen. Did you miss the S&P 500 run? You must have missed it. You must have missed it. What's up, Nathaniel? What's up? How are you doing? I'm amazed that in America, in common to be a working class right-winger, like, are you guys retarded or what? Presumably, these people get their info handed to them by the news or socials. Oh, well, I think some news agencies are okay, but I do think a lot of people just scroll Twitter endlessly, and that's not good just for your brain. I mean, there are studies out there, guys. You know, don't take my word for it. There are studies that show, like, if you're on social media all day, it's not too healthy. Not too healthy, folks. Like, and I assume a lot of them are like Benny Johnson. You watch Benny Johnson, I'm surprised his computer hasn't exploded with the amount of tabs for Twitter he has open. It's insane. Both sides have had good people. Like, who in the Republican Party is good? All you guys had was like Thomas Massie. And I mean you guys as in the right. All they had was like Thomas Massie. And the only reason Thomas Massie was good was because of the Epstein Transparency Act. Unfortunately, besides that, some of his policies were a little interesting. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to call in. We are looking for those that disagree. Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt. Well, if you want, yeah, in the past, like, the Southern Strategy happened, man. Yeah, in the past, the Republicans were great. They freed the slaves, as they say. But let's make no mistake. The Southern Strategy happened, and then boom. The Republicans said, we're okay with voting for civil rights. We're okay with, we're good on that. We're good on that, folks. We don't want any part of that spicy dinner right there. We're just going to let the Southern Democrats become Republican. And they did, ladies and gentlemen. They did. See, we wouldn't allow that in our party. Notice, by the way, I love how when conservatives bring this up, because it's such a great point for our side. Because look how we treat our controversial figures now. Graham Plattner, out. Eric Swalwell, out. That Florida congresswoman who I have no idea what her name is still, out. We take care of our own. That's something the Republicans do not do. And the evidence for that is Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. That's the evidence. Anyways, hope you guys liked my Trump hands interpretation there. Can I ask you an honest question, though I am not too confrontational on politics? Oh, yeah, of course. I say it all the time. I meme on the right, but I don't hate Republicans that see what's going on for what it is. I think it's actually pretty brave because a lot of Republicans are still captured by MAGA, and I think it's healthy to have different ideas in your party. Unfortunately, time and time again, we see that the Republicans are captured by MAGA. And now even some of their own base that originally voted for them are disgusted by their recent actions. And I say to all you Republicans that don't agree with what's going on, you got a place in the Democratic Party. Now, you're going to have to, vote for some things that are progressive which may gross you out. You may have to allow trans people to exist. But if you can do that, you've got a place here, gang. It is healthy to have different opinions. It's a godsend. You have to be an open mind. Yeah, you have to be open-minded. I mean, it's very important to be open-minded. Anyways, let's see our first call. Oh, we got 2 calls coming in.
Call from
Anthony?
to accept, press 1.
Hey, Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. So, did you disagree with anything that's been said on the live so far, or with the prompt?
No, I was cranked that drive. I just kind of wanted to talk on a open basis.
Yeah, so what questions did you have for me, man?
Yeah. Well, I just want to get your opinion on the politics side because technically I am Republican. I did vote for Trump, just because I wasn't agreeing on Kamala for the most part.
Understandable, for
But
sure.
um, I feel like the problem is there's sticking points with both sides of the parties that they can't get past, and that's what really drives the divide and hatred towards people. Like,
So,
I feel
I
like there
kind
could be
of,
common
yeah.
ground.
Well, I kind of disagree. I think that we would be far less divisive if we didn't have somebody at the top constantly using divisive rhetoric. He said for the what did he call it? The seditious six, which is a kind of a badass name, honestly. He said for the seditious six that they should be hung for treason. I think that's ridiculous, especially in the uh, democracy we live in. You shouldn't call for people's death, and I don't see Democrats doing that personally.
No, but I mean, the there's been bad sides shown on both parties. Like, for example, the Charlie Kirk situation.
Well,
I
we don't
mean,
know. I just want to stop you there because Charlie Kirk, what happened to Charlie Kirk was tragic, and I think that it
Mhm.
is uh, definitely hurt American politics. Look at it, not a lot of people are willing to go in front of colleges, which I think is horrible. Now, that being said, we don't have much evidence that he was this far left radical. I think he did, personally, my opinions on the case, I think he did genuinely love somebody, it seems, that was either trans, I don't think they're even trans, but was effeminate, and it was a guy. And so,
Mhm.
I can see how in somebody who is mentally ill's mind, it's a good idea to do that. I mean, the same could be said about the abortion clinic bombings that happened in the 90s. I think it's a sign that we need to increase like mental health care funding and things like that, not a sign that the left is violent.
Mhm. I mean, and that I mean, granted, the shooter we don't know exactly per se, but the rhetorics that were coming out of people that were celebrating the event, even though it was a tragic situation.
Yeah, so I definitely hear you on that, but something you have to understand with social media is that unfortunately, social media does have a tendency to bring out some of the worst in people. You know what I mean?
That's
And I don't think it's necessarily representative of the entire Democratic Party. I mean, you have even right wingers making memes with Charlie Kirk's face in it. If anything, it boosted his clout. Not that's horrible to say, actually. Sorry. That was meant to be a joke. That's horrible to say. Sorry.
I mean, the other thing, the only positive side that came out on our side was the fact I got my wife to go to church again, which uh, I
Say
know
that one more
people
time.
disagree, but I thought that was a great thing.
They brought back the church again. Well, I
No,
have.
my wife started going back to church because
Oh
of
well.
that situation.
Well, I don't think a political figure's death should be the reason for finding your faith. Now, I am not a Christian myself. I have no problem if somebody's Christian. My
Mhm.
parents are and all that. So, the issue I have with a certain sect of Christianity right now is they believe that our politics should be influenced by the church. Now, I don't think that is at all what should happen. Um, mainly because we've been a secular nation since our founding.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the founding fathers are Christian or at least theists of some sort. So, I mean, it's kind of a. I agree. Don't force religion into the government or into government, but I think a lot of the theology in Christianity can be used to kind of not govern but direct, like what moral law
Well,
should it kind of look like.
Well, I don't see. I had an entire debate about this yesterday about how morality is. I think morality is subjective. It's dependent on people and their cultural spheres, all of that. But um, I don't think that the Bible should be used inside of our politics because our politics are very secular. They're for the people, but also if you use if you're doing good things and you use the Bible in your head as justification for some things, see, this gets into like religion and some deep, difficult questions that I don't think people are quite ready to answer. I don't think that you should use your religion at all inside of politics personally. Now, as your own moral code, maybe, but your the nation truthfully comes before God. And I know a lot of people feel differently about that, but if you're a true believer in the Constitution, that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in the Constitution. I think everyone has the right to expression. Um, Now, I kind of want to go back a little bit more into
Yeah,
politics just because
of
my
course.
wife and I've got into the historical documentaries and stuff like that. So we just finished FDR,
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
he
Cool dude.
and he was a Democrat. I think what he did was amazing. Like, I mean, there's a reason why he ran for 3 terms or was able to
Yeah,
get 3 terms.
yeah.
Um, but I think he kind of, and it maybe been before him, but I thought he kind of opened up Pandora's box when it came to how much the government helps the people. I think it
Well, I
can be a
think the
little
government,
too.
I understand that, but I think the reason a lot of people don't like government, right, is because they don't see it working for them. And I know the Democrats have a lot of fixes for that. For example, they believe in uncapping the House, which, if you didn't know, when the Constitution was wrote, a representative should only represent like 30 to 50,000 people. That has ballooned to 800,000 people. And so people don't really feel represented by even their House of Representatives. So I think uncapping the House would allow for people to get their ideas out there and truthfully feel represented by Congress. I think also getting rid of the filibuster is pretty important. We're so divided right now that it's impossible to pass bills. And so just in terms of the federal level, that is some things we can do to feel like our government is working for us because a lot of people do feel like you alienated from it. I'm assuming, sorry.
Well, it's not even alienated. It's more like I've seen because just from my personal experience, I've seen a lot of people, and most of these uh, reliefs were under Democratic presidents that they can pretty much work or not work their entire lives and still have a roof over their head. And if not by for mental illness, it's just by choice and having to work the system. I
Well,
think there needs to be
did you
tighter
say
guidelines on how to get the relief.
relief? Oh, so I don't quite know what you mean by relief. Like, are you talking about these programs that help people? And are you talking about like social programs essentially?
Yeah, disabilities and stuff like that. Because I mean, there's 100% there's disability out there. But I'll give you an example. I have an aunt, an uncle, and a cousin who all live in the same house. None of them work. Everything's paid for by the government for the most part, where they just don't work and they smoke um, all day. Well, here I
Yeah.
am. I got wife and kids, and I work 60 hours a week. My wife works 55,
Hmm.
and we struggle to keep our house because we make too much money to where we get taxed on it too much. And uh, yeah, they get to have a roof over their head because they just fought for the correct stuff with the government.
So I would be interested to know their situation, but I will tell you that I would agree that fraud is a problem. Now, again, I'm not saying they're committing fraud or anything like that. There may be extenuating
Eh.
circumstances that I don't know about, but that's why I support funding things like the IRS. The IRS was created to find these individuals that are committing fraud in multiple different areas. Unfortunately, right now, since Donald Trump cut it, didn't cut the program entirely, but cut the agency pretty dry. They can only go after a few cases. But if we really empowered the IRS, we would be seeing returns in the billions or even trillions in some cases. Because I don't deny that there is some fraud in the systems we have, but we have tools to go after that. It's not up to the president to send like the FBI and the CIA to go after these people. It's we have a system for that.
No, but like there needs to be better classification on what disabilities can constitute what you get, and also,
I don't
I
think
have a
that's the
I have
case.
well I have an uncle who's a paraplegic, but there was a time where he was able to. I mean, while he was a paraplegic, he was able to work. He worked phones customer service for DirecTV, but then he had to quit because he made just over what he was allowed to, and his home health aid and healthcare
So
got cut for his
should we
disability
raise
assistant.
well, should we raise the cap then? Would that
I
be
I
a
think
solution? Because
I
that's a pretty liberal policy, honestly, man. That's like that if
I
anything would
think you should be
increase.
rewarded. Like if you have a disability, say like a paralysis of some sort, and you are able to work, I think you should be rewarded with some government assistance on your difficulties in order to allow you to work. Not just, hey, I know you can't, I know it's a little tough for you to work.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna.
so if yeah, I mean that's an interesting idea actually, and I think that's actually a lot more democratic policy than you're thinking because are you saying we should punish those that aren't doing that? I think the carrot is better than the stick in a lot of cases. So I would support
I
that if there's a reward, but I don't think kicking people off would be the solution. I think you will see dividends in that type of program without cutting people off because people already don't really trust the government, like you said. And if you're cutting the benefits that they are able to get from the government that are just and justified, then they're going to have even more resentment and not engage with this amazing American experiment.
Yeah, I mean it's tough when you see, like, because I mean and they've always, the people that are on disability always vote Democrat because they feel like that always gives them the best benefits.
Well, I
And
think that's just because the Republicans are so anti these systems. Like a
I
system
agree.
like you said, that would be amazing. And if a Republican brought that forward, I think they would have bipartisan support, honestly. You see that with like the housing bill, for example. I know Elizabeth Warren authored it, but you saw a bipartisan support for it. Now, Donald Trump didn't sign it because he's upset he doesn't have enough votes for the Save America Act. It was actually kind of funny. He said Lindsey Graham's last thing he said to me said, "Vote for the Save America Act, folks." It was so like it was kind of cringy, but anyways, that's besides
I
the
do find
point.
I do find it funny where I feel like Trump didn't mean to become president the first time, and then he got kind of trapped into it.
Well, I do think, I think he is using it to enrich himself right now. And I just think that's so sad because politicians already have this view. A lot of people have this view that politicians are only for the donor class and all that. And I think this further deteriorates people's trust in the political system. And I think, what we got going on here in America is pretty amazing. There is issues, and money is a huge problem. So, I do have a problem with him. Like, how do you feel, for example, about the $1.776 billion IRS fund that he? I mean, he basically fought himself on that. It's like he beat himself up, and said, "I win." That's essentially what happened there.
I mean, I agree. because I mean, I really didn't really follow politics that much up until his first term and towards the end of it, only because my wife was and her family are really into politics, and they're like, my father-in-law is very MAGA. Like I got him the Trump socks with the fake hair on it that
Yeah.
sweep off the side, but um
Well, I do
I feel
think. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I say I feel like on this term he's kind of circled himself too much to the point to where nothing's getting done the way it probably should have been. Like if you're trying to do the whole Doge thing and try to, lessen
Oh,
waste
yeah.
and all that,
Well, don't
to
cut important
then go
programs.
to
That's
war
gotta.
and spend what you probably
Yeah.
would have saved on the war. I agree that I don't
Well,
think that was the smartest decision.
well, and an agency for that. We have I don't remember its name. It's like the Office of Government Efficiency or something. We already had what Doge was doing, and not only that, but it seems like they may have stolen some information, which is pretty scary to think about. That some teenager that's still picking his nose has my social security card, but that unfortunately is what happened. But I like I said, I am all for government efficiency as long as we're going through we're using tools that are known to work. There was a study that was done, and I could find it somewhere, I'm sure, but a study was done that if you put $1 for every $1 you put in the IRS, you get $3 back. I mean, talk about, that's a great uh, way to spend your money. $3 back, that's a pretty good investment.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like with how the country is, and I'm not saying it's Republican or Democratic fault. I think it's a culmination of time of side switching where neither party could probably fix everything at least in the next 20 years. I mean, it feels like there's so
So,
many policies to kind of fight each other that it really makes it difficult to kind of get to the point to where we want to be at
well,
and find
like
an
I
equal ground.
mentioned
Because I feel,
earlier. Oh, sorry, were you not
oh,
finished? I'm so
keep
sorry.
going.
Well, like I said earlier, there are ways to fix that actually, like the filibuster, like uncapping the House. I think there are definitely ways to address that. I do see the Democrats doing uh, coming back and saving America as they've done before with the 2008 financial crisis and COVID. But, I don't want to harp on that too long. As to say, like, I think we are ready and willing to actually see real change in this country. And you see it in our own party. We're seeing incumbents get shot out because they think, they think the voters think they're too complicit. And
Well,
well, I
what
and I
exactly?
have a lot of trust in our Democratic leaders actually, but there is this image because the Republicans have been so egregious that it's hard to tell a Democrat like, well, there's not much we can do until we get into power,
Yeah,
and
but
they're upset with what Trump is doing. Sorry, what were you
what
saying?
exactly is the Democratic plan to fix it? Like
Yeah.
policies they want to get in place that would actually fix it. What are those?
So I think one of the signature policies they'll be able to achieve in 2028 is a public option. I think healthcare is way too expensive. And we're not just
Hmm.
seeing it in terms of healthcare cost, we're seeing it in terms of lives lost. I think a lot of these people that are school shooters that they feel isolated and they've reserved themselves to a small little community that is impossible to sniff out by even our most advanced detectives. And that's a sign of mental illness. It's not a sign of, I mean, it is a sign of radicalization too, but I think radicalization is also a sign of mental illness. And so I think a public option would really help a lot of people that are struggling with their mental health. It would also bring down the prices of health insurance because now they have to compete with somebody that's free but a little less quality service care. I mean, that's to be debated. I've seen studies going both ways, but regardless, there would still be the private option, and you would get to keep all your in network doctors. They wouldn't force people off or anything like that. It would just simply be creating a program that everybody can benefit from, and then those that are more well off, they're able to buy premium insurance, and it wouldn't really disrupt the way we do things anyways.
And I wish we could just get rid of insurance altogether. I feel like
Well, that's
that
the
that was the biggest
ultimate
mistake we
goal.
ever invented.
Well, I do agree that private insurers have definitely taken advantage of their situation, and they get even more egregious as time goes on with AI now sorting some whether or not people can become like qualify. It's quite sad. So that's why I think introducing a public option will force them to actually do some good business practices. But it's not just the private insurers we have to tackle. I mean, I think also something else we have to tackle is the fact that a lot of these private insurers have giant conglomerates that are able to uh, not control our Congress, because a lot of funds that do get spent on politicians do get used up in the campaign, but they're able to reach their greedy hands and put money into pockets, and there's a way we can fix that. It's called repealing Citizens United, and a lot of Democrats support. I mean, I think most, if not all, Democrats support repealing Citizens United, and I think we can even get some Republicans to sign on to that, especially after we see what the end of Donald Trump will bring.
Uh, I'm curious as you are, because it's like I feel like it's been 12 years just because he's stayed in the spotlight for that entire time during Biden's administration.
Yeah, do you kind
Um,
of see what I'm talking about? Like they're still kicking the people out that aren't like 100% MAGA, and I think that's really bad, like, especially after Trump's gone.
yeah,
You
I mean,
know?
I always use I guess it's called the beer test. I don't know if you ever heard about that. That's usually who wins the election is the beer test. Who would you like to have a beer with? Usually wins. If you look back, at least for the
Oh
last
yeah.
6 presidents, I want to say, always passed the beer test.
Well, hey,
Because
I'm
even
telling you, I. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you saying?
no, you're okay. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think we got some people in our own party that would pass the beer test with flying colors. Like, I think John Ossoff is somebody who's starting to stand out. He's starting to show that he's a cool dude who can work under pressure. But I think people like Mark Kelly, who are, just your average American veteran who happened to be an astronaut at some point, he's a cool dude. I'd share a beer with him. He could tell us all about space. And even people, I personally don't think someone like Gavin Newsom will necessarily win, just because I think he has the California stink. But even Gavin Newsom, I could share a joint with him, since it's Cali.
That's true. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I just it's because I always try to keep my mind open. I like I said, I've always kind of leaned Republican on the most part. But it's mainly because I try to hold my more traditional values, I would say, than the Democrats have shown. And I think that only sticking point with me is that side of it. But again, I don't don't force people to believe, but I'm more of a
Well,
traditional person in that
so
retrospect.
yeah, and I understand that, but I think a lot of people think Democrats are pushing transness onto people or making people gay. That's by far not the issue. We have no problem if you're straight, if you're gay, if you're white, if you're black, if you're purple. We don't care, man. And a lot of people have this misconception that, if you're not 100% with somebody's pronouns, we're going to cuss you out. I have a term for that. It's called woke scolding. And woke scolding is so lame that anybody who tries to do it I was on a debate panel and somebody tried to woke scold a good friend of mine, North. He's a conservative, but he hates MAGA and wants to bring the party back to a respectable Republicans. But I don't like that in my party, and I think a lot of those people have been kind of cast out because a lot of other people didn't agree with it. And I also do think that a lot of the people that did do that were kind of just doing it for engagement and all that. I think uh, it was a sign of 2016 and maybe a little 2020. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean but Democrats, they believe in a larger government, correct? Than Republicans, at least traditional Democrats and traditional Republicans. Republicans usually want to have a smaller, let the states kind of govern themselves kind of situation.
Well, that's what they say, right? That's what they say. That's what the Republicans run on. But look at what they're trying to do. I mean, Donald Trump wants the Save America Act, which would give federal oversight on state elections. That's one of the biggest states' rights. And one of the reasons we're such a great democracy is because states have the right to run their own elections. There's been no evidence of voter fraud, there's been no evidence of ballot stuffing or anything like that. Donald Trump's just upset with how he lost the 2020 election. And I think
Yeah.
that's sad, and it really scares me because our elections are why people, praise us, why America is seen as this house on the hill.
Well, are you for or against voter ID, or at least an ID identification to vote?
So I am totally for voter ID. I don't think that's anything to reject as long as, and I have some, if we're going to do a voter ID system, I think we should have a national ID so people can take that opportunity and it's not as difficult to, because a lot of states it is kind of difficult to get your ID. I live in Kansas and it took like 3 months to get my ID here. And that's just because of all the legal loopholes you have to go, not loopholes, but the legal framework you have to go through. And so, if we're going to do that, yeah, I have no problem because obviously I wouldn't want somebody who isn't allowed to vote in an election, but we have to make it easier for American citizens to get ID.
Yeah, I mean, is it really that difficult to get an ID? Because for me, it's like I can go on because I live in Florida, I can literally get it ordered and sent to me in like 2 days.
Yeah,
Like if I ever
well,
lost it
I
or
mean,
anything
I
like
live,
that.
unfortunately, rural towns like or rural states like Kansas unfortunately have this a lot of people say the swamp when in Washington. At least they're meeting, like there's swamps in these small rural uh Republican or and some in some cases Democrat towns that and districts that do make it very hard to get a license and even get just a normal state ID. You have to have like you have to have like three forms of identification, and then you have to have like a bunch of bills and checks sent to your location, and that's a headache for people that are the average working person. They're not bureaucrats that are able to go through all this.
Yeah, but you would think if you have such a passion to make your vote happen, you would do the steps in order to get to the point to get the
Well,
ID to place the vote.
so the issue with that is that you're seeing voting as like a privilege. It's not a privilege, it's a right for Americans. Americans have that right to vote, and that's what our founders intended. And so the way to address that is the ways I said, not to disenfranchise people and make it harder to vote. We want as many people voting as possible. What was it? Like 2/3 of the nation didn't even vote in last election. That's horrible.
Yeah.
And, I don't blame people for being disenfranchised with our system because it is broken in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean we just give up and, make it harder to vote or just give up and let the other side win or anything like that. It's meant to be, the fight for democracy and freedom and liberty and all these things we care about. It never ends, unfortunately or fortunate. I think it's great because I always want to improve my democracy, but it's never going to end. And politicians, they know that a lot of the time. Now, Republicans have used that, in my opinion, to set out this whole long, like decades in the making plan that results in much more power for the executive. But the Democrats are waking up to the fact that we need a plan, and I think we have one to really make our democracy work for the people and not for these giant lobbyists and corporations and all these people that just have money in mind.
Well, do you think? I mean, it didn't seem like to me that they had a plan when I guess Biden suddenly drops out of the race and then put
Yeah.
Kamala in the forefront of things. I don't think that was
Yeah.
very well
Oh,
thought
yeah.
out.
I mean, I agree. Like, I think Kamala was a good candidate, but the issue was that nobody knew her. I mean, she was vice president, but are we really looking to JD Vance for his amazing ways to speak? It's just an unknown. So I don't blame a lot of people for feeling
He,
uncomfortable with how Biden dropped out, and we were kind of caught with our pants down. I
yeah,
don't
I
think
mean,
we're gonna have that issue
I'll
anymore,
say this
though.
about JD Vance. It was kind of like you ever like become friends with somebody. It's like, oh, this guy's cool, and then kind of the more you hang out with him, it's like, I mean,
You're getting
you're all
weird.
right. I kind of I was like that because I
Yeah,
think I
I
enjoyed him
know.
on like I want to say it was the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm like, okay, this guy seems like relatable, like seems normal, but then it's like, all right, you
He's
kind of
best
sounded
friends
the
with
same, very
Palantir.
robotic for
Yeah.
the past
Well, he's
couple of
best
years now.
friends. He's best friends with the owner of Palantir, the evil company that is kind of pretty evil. Yeah, he's best friends with Peter Thiel. There we go. And like a lot of people did vote for uh Trump and Vance because they did feel like they passed that, beer test, like you're saying. And I think that is one of the other failings that the Democrats had in the 2024 election is that we were we saw the threat for what Trump was, but we were very serious about it. And I mean, we should be serious about it. Don't mistake me,
Mm.
but we weren't we didn't quite have that relatability factor because we were pretty focused on trying to uh, prevent him. And, that's where you get a lot of, oh, you just run on Trump. I don't. I think we have great policies, but we did kind of fit into that void. And I think that's because we didn't have like a liberal media ecosystem. There were not a lot of liberal news networks that were very reputable. I think that's changing right now. We have people like Brian Tyler Cohen pondering politics. We have a lot of people that are willing to communicate to the people what's going on and are honest about their democratic affiliations. A lot of people, the sissy liberal meme was pretty big for a while. I can't deny that. But I think
Mm.
we're poised in a position to retake our image and make it something much more positive for the people.
I mean, I think there still needs to be work on the Democratic side, just because you guys have such a
Well, that's what I'm saying,
that
Yeah, exactly. I agree. You know what I mean? Like, we
yeah.
do have that image. And so that's why I think it's great. We have like dudes like Brian Tyler Cohen and others that are, cool dudes that you would have a beer with that
Well, and also it'd be a
are
position
Democrats.
of seeing someone of strength in office rather than like Biden. Like shoot, what was it?
Yeah, I know what
I
you're
can't remember
saying.
what country from. Like when I spoke with some friends of mine who are European and stuff like that, they said the difference between Donald Trump and Biden was the fact that when Trump was in office, there was fear among countries, and
Hmm.
when Biden was in office, there wasn't that fear.
Well,
And I think at
s-
the point of where we were at in America, I think we kind of had to get our, pull up our britches a little bit and, man
well,
up. And
look at what
I,
I mean. Kamala was a federal prosecutor and a state prosecutor before that. I actually don't know if she was a federal. I know she was a state and the AG for the state. So, but she was a very like she was somebody who fought criminals every day in court and brought cases that were sometimes people thought impossible. That's what a lot of our state AGs and federal AGs typically do. So I understand again, but I don't think this fear of I think the issue that you saw with Biden was he said it himself. I really focused on the policy, but not too much on the politics. And we need somebody who can do both of that. And while I do think Kamala would have been able to do that, I understand that in 2028 we need a strong leader. And that's why I point to people like John Ossoff or Mark Kelly. Because, I mean, if you watch the confirmation hearing for Todd Blanche today, John Ossoff
Mm.
just tore his. I mean, you got to watch it, man. It's pretty incredible. Um, and so, I think we got fighters, and fighters necessarily need to be good leaders, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Especially
'cause
if you're going to exist in the Democrat Party right now with the DSA
yeah,
nipping at your heels.
yeah, 'cause I mean, if you look at again, like I said, my wife and I have been watching like the historical documentaries and stuff like that. I mean, FDR was a person who was very smart, but knew when to divvy the responsibility among
Yeah.
people who are more competent than he is. And that's what I was kind of hoping with Trump would kind of do, because I
Yeah.
understand like Trump, he's a businessman of some sort, and you have to get the people in office that help you on the stuff you're not good with. I don't think he
Yeah.
chose the best crew for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think he chose people that he knew would agree with him. And I agree with you. You have to know how to delegate. And I do think Biden knew how to do that, but definitely Obama knew how to delegate people and make sure that the right person was in charge. I really do respect a lot of Obama's picks. Um, but also I think yeah, I agree. And that goes to my whole thing of making sure the government works for you, the people, rather than bureaucracy and for the sake of bureaucracy, honestly. Totally agree.
yeah, I mean, I think there just needs to be a middle ground with people, because I feel like you have your 5 or 6 talking points from each side that really divides the country, when there's so much more common ground that needs to be done with, and
Yeah.
I think it keeps America divided on that point.
Well, I
I feel
think
like
the
there needs to
trans
be.
issue is a perfect example of that. Most Republicans you talk to, no problem with trans people. It's this, but they do think that we're teaching it in schools and stuff like that. But like most of these books that I have looked into, and I've looked in, this is a point I hear a lot, are, they're just like preteen romance novels. They're not even that bad, honestly. I mean, I was watching way worse videos when I was 16 and even 14. So,
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
kind of
this
look.
is like
I kind of look
fear
at the.
mongering. Sorry, what's up?
Yeah, I look back at the cartoons I watched when I was a kid. And it's like, who in their right mind would let us watch Mr. Meaty? It's the creepiest
Yeah. That's
cartoon
a
I've ever seen in my
creepy
entire
ass
life.
show, right? That's a
Yeah, I'm
creepy
like,
show. And it had weird jokes. And even like some of our classic cartoons, like SpongeBob, had some interesting choices. So, like, I think this really is you had the satanic panic fear mongering, and now you have like this LGBT fear mongering. It's not, I do not think we're trying to, or I haven't seen any policies to turn the kids gay. I think it's a understanding that a lot of, well, not, a lot of more people are comfortable with who they are, because we live in such an amazing society that, you are going to see more people feel as though they are uh, homosexual, not because we're making them feel that way, but because that's how they've always felt. And they actually feel comfortable now to express that. And so I think that really is AstroTurf, because like I said, most Republicans, they don't have an issue with uh, the LGBT. They think they have an issue with pushing it on to children, but I don't believe in, I believe reversible hormone therapy can be used like when you turn 14, um, maybe
I think
12 if
that's too
they're like,
young.
no. So why do you think it's too young? I think by 14, you definitely know who you are and how you feel.
Well, let me ask you this: do you ever look back at your social media posts from 5 years ago and go, "Oh my God, why the heck did I post something like that?"
But this isn't a social media post. This is much
No,
more.
but I like
It's
I
much more
but
impactful. And like I said, most of these hormone replacement therapies, they're reversible. I even know
yes, but
somebody who I dated as a female and they didn't want to express that way anymore, and they're now totally a male. So I this stuff is most of the time reversible.
Well, and like I said, I don't have a problem with trans, and like I'll give you a very quick story. We had, well, I guess it's not trans because is drag considered trans, or is that a
So
separate
drag is
thing?
kind of a separate thing.
Okay.
Drag is much more like it's much more like how would I describe it? It's just like a cool. Some people like to dress up effeminate and have super like crazy features and stuff like that, as in like
Yeah.
feathers and stuff. And I kind of look at it as like dressing up as a princess or and doing a play or something like that.
Yeah, like I mean, because like I'm from Florida, so I'm sort of southern because I've always lived here. But the country bar that's next to the country bar I go to is literally right next to a place that does like the drag shows and stuff like that. And one of them came over, and a guy got confrontational with him, like giving him a hard time. And I came over and said, "Hey, leave him alone. He's not doing anything wrong with anybody."
That's
And
fucked up.
I ended up
Yeah.
having to
I'm
full
sorry.
Nelson face slam him into the ground.
Hey, that's
But again, I'm
badass,
also a
bro.
per.
Well, you're a true American. You're a true
Well, yeah,
American.
I try to be, but at the same time, I don't believe in the lifestyle. I think everyone has the right to choose what they want to choose, but doesn't have to agree with it per
Yeah, of
se.
course.
'Cause,
I
I mean,
mean, but as long as you're not like discriminating, and it seems like you're doing the opposite. You're actually protecting people that are using their right to express themselves. I think that's actually something you should be pretty proud of, man, because bigotry and stuff like that has no place in America. It truly doesn't. It
no,
is,
but if I had the
and
choice,
I don't think you're being bigoted by saying, you know what, I may not understand gay people, but as long as they are, not doing any harm, why do harm to them? I think that's great.
right? I think everyone has that right and respect. I mean, I think everyone should respect each other. But when it comes to someone of age of like 14 wanting to do some kind of hormonal change, I feel like if you feel like you're in the wrong body, you can do steps without having to go that far to mutilate your body.
I say, well,
Not I'm not
mutilate. I don't
I think
believe in
mutilate is the wrong
surgeries.
word, but I
Change.
think
I get
the
what you're saying. Change your body and present a different way. I would agree, but most people that are trans are displaying signs of gender dysphoria, which is a real illness. They're displaying signs of gender dysphoria. Very. It's usually around 10 a lot of the time. But I understand you not being comfortable, but a lot of the or all of the time, I should say, this decision isn't just the child's, it's also the parents and a psychologist. So it's three levels of verification, and I trust most parents with their children, and I think this is a hard decision to make just because of how stigmatized it is right now. So I trust the parents to make that decision. And
well,
then
you're
I
also
also,
you don't have enough time to really see the long-term effects of it. You might say, oh, your hormones will balance out in 7 years after being off this medication, but it's the same for like, and I'm a hypocrite, but for vaping, it's like, all right, we don't know the long-term effects on
well,
vaping because it's only been around for this long.
so gender affirming care in the terms of hormone replacement, it's been around for a while. We know that this is the best way to treat gender dysphoria. Um, but I understand your feeling about that. But a lot of the stories I hear about people that have trans children and how difficult it was for them to um, go through that process. It's not an easy process, especially if they have severe gender dysphoria and they are suicidal because of it. Because some children, not preteens, I would say, not necessarily children, but they are very affected by this, and it's kind of a horrifying thing for me personally because I think, what if I didn't see, the guy that doesn't exist in the mirror? I would be pretty horrified about that, and it would
Yeah,
be a
but
hard existence for me.
yeah, I mean, but the kids are going to be at a point, you're going to be in school, no matter if you are a woman who feels like you're in a man's body, you're going to get ridiculed. I mean, unfortunately, that's how just kids are. I mean, I was
Yeah.
picked on for having a high pitched voice and being 110 pounds soaking wet at 6 foot tall. So kids can be mean of anything. I
And
think
I
either way, you're not going to change how those kids are going to react, because then you're either going to be the kid who dresses like a girl to, okay, now you really took it really far, but you're still not a girl.
well, I
And
think
that's where
that
I separate that kind of mindset.
yeah.
I'm not
Well,
a
I
believer that you can
yeah.
transition per se.
Well, I do think so. In the far future, like probably in 10,000 years or something, we're going to be able to shift our bodies into whatever we want. Okay? So that I understand your feelings on that, and that, like you said, it's from a religious standpoint, but that might not even be that far away. But we're going to start seeing we're at a point in humanity where, and this is kind of a heady argument because it's kind of an interesting thing. We're at a point where we can change our bodies and do stuff like that. But as for kids ridiculing and stuff like that, I think that changes with just people knowing more trans people and it not being as shamed as it is right now. There is a huge, and you saw it firsthand, there is this huge hatred towards trans people, and I don't think it deserves to be there. And like I said, I don't think that most of these parents are doing it willingly, and it's definitely a hard decision for the child as well. And if they're able to make that decision, which is incredibly tough, I think we should respect that. Now, I'm not saying gender reassignment surgery for 8-year-olds or even 17-year-olds. I think that should be reserved for when you are the age of 18 and you can make these bodily autonomy decisions by yourself. But as far as, hormone
Yeah,
replacement, I do think that at the age of 14, you are aware of who you are and who you want to be. Now, it may change who you want to be, but what never really changes is who you are. I I'm
I
still
I I,
technically the
I kind
same.
of disagree on that though. I mean, I'm 30. I'm 31 years old. And if I go back to who I thought I was at 21 versus who I am now, it's a completely different person. So then there's decisions I made at 21 that I wish I didn't do that are going to forever affect me on
Well,
it, and those are regrets I have to live with. And I don't think
we do that with
I
nicotine, we do that with alcohol, and I think if you're able to vote, you should be able to choose what you do with your body. But we have been going on for a while now, brother.
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate this call, and hopefully I was able to kind of paint why I vote for Democrats and kind of my general disposition on a lot of things. I appreciate this call. I really do.
No, can I ask you one question before we go?
Yeah, what's
It's a
up?
real quick one. I mean, just because what got me to talk was you being confrontational with the Republican side of things. Is it just because you're reciprocating, or is it
Most of the time,
for?
yes, it is because I'm reciprocating, but also there's a very long history of MAGA doing this very similar thing where they're being antagonistic, and I do think that people that are still on the Trump train, 100%, they do have they need a wake up call that isn't the carrot. They need the stick sometimes. I don't deny that sometimes you got to use the stick. And I'm
Yeah,
not, I don't like, if you actually get to know my positions, I'm not nearly this confrontational. But, I do think it's important to, be a little memey sometimes. And, it's all in good fun. I would never want somebody to do political violence or anything like that.
yeah. I mean, I think you'd piss them off more if you pretty much crush them with kindness, because then it'll drive them crazy that they're not getting a reaction out of you in front of for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, when I'm just chilling by myself here, you do got to kind of engage with the chat, and sometimes they do say some pretty crazy things. But Like, for example, lip piercing looks so gay. Great comments like that. So I like to dish out what people serve personally. And you came in good faith and wanted to actually have a conversation, and I really respect that. So
Yeah, no problem. It was a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, shoot, it has been 50 minutes. I gotta get my kids to sleep.
yeah, well, hey, good luck with that. Have a great night, man.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Yep. Take care. Peace. Yeah, I just meme on you, MAGA, in good fun. Come on, you would be doing the same thing. But yeah, that was a good call. Why am I getting this uh call waiting for me sound? It's so annoying when that happens because it does ruin the VODs. But that's all right. Anyways, if you guys disagree with anything I have to say, feel free to call in. That was much more of a friendly chat, but like I said, I do dish out what people serve. So, if you're being a confrontational oddball, well, you gotta expect to get memed on a little bit. And that's okay. Everybody can be memed on once in a while. I don't think that's, you gotta have humility, gang. Alright.
Call from.
Leo.
To accept, press 1.
Hey, Leo, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
That's good to hear. So, did you disagree with anything that's been said on the live so far or with the prompt?
No, so my question is, I do debate, and I just had a question if you'd be willing to answer it.
Yeah, what's up?
So recently I was on a debate, and I was given the question, is minimum wage designed to be a living wage or not? And I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
Well, I think that I would definitely say yes. That should be the goal of minimum wage because unfortunately companies they're these giant conglomerates now, and they don't really care as much as they used to about the worker. Now, I have solutions to that. I think there's a lot of cases to be made that they are breaking monopoly laws and making back market or backdoor deals and stuff like that. So my solution to that would be that we kind of have to go after these companies, because they're the ones keeping minimum wage as low as possible.
That's a very similar argument I made. The next question that was posed to me was is how do you prevent people from being fired when minimum wage is raised? For example, there was a fact that was given to me that when minimum wage in Oregon was raised to $15 an hour, there was statistically a lot of people laid off from their jobs. What do you think the best
Yeah,
thing to do to combat that is?
yeah, for sure. Well, that's unfortunately sometimes to be expected, but see, if we were to actually go after these companies and make sure that they are split and well apart from each other, you would not have such a small job market. I think this is much more a question about why the job market is so small, and all roads lead to exactly what I was saying.
Mhm. Um, so ideally speaking, you're saying we address it, the companies or the large corporations who, as we know, are lobbying the government and, to keep wages lower.
Yeah.
So we address that to, keep the,
So that way
higher the wage.
you don't even have to like institute a minimum wage if we were to do that, because then companies would actually have to compete for their labor. Right now
Mhm.
they're the only job in town. So ideally, we wouldn't even need to raise the minimum wage. But if we are raising the minimum wage, then and we're not able to break these conglomerates up, which I feel they'll probably come back with in a debate panel or something like that. Well, I would, you have to place not barriers. You have to place guardrails on these minimum wage increases, preventing companies from firing and doing mass layoffs. It might be a cap on how many people they can do for the first 20 months or 20 months is honestly pretty, for the first year. that the minimum wage is increased. But yeah, there's definitely ways to get around that and make
Are
sure that they're not just mass laying off people.
are you proposing, for example, protections against being laid off due to the increased minimum wage? I mean, we already have protections with the National Labor Relations Board and National Labor Relations Act 1935, which gives us some protections from layoffs, and there's other, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and there's other protections. So are you
Yeah.
saying that you think we need protections against layoff due to, discrimination based on minimum wage?
Well, we would definitely need it if we were to enact a national minimum wage. But like I said, it'd be for the first year, and then they would be free to, because at that point they've made the budget adjustments and they've made the
Mhm.
ability. It could even be longer, like for 2 or 3 years. But you would get a lot of pushback from the Republicans on that.
Yeah. Do you have any opinions on, I live in the state of Texas, which honestly kind of sucks for me. Do you have any opinion on, so companies hiring people and then not guaranteeing hours? I know, don't
Mm,
fact check me on this.
yeah.
I believe there's some states in the United States that have minimum guaranteed hour laws. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that is actually a huge issue right now. So, what will happen is they will say it's a full time job and they'll even hire you as a full time person. But what they'll do is they'll list you as a part timer. And that way they
Mhm.
can get around actually treating you well. So, with that, what was your question again? My apology. The
Yeah.
second part, I
So
apologize.
my question was, what do you think we can do to combat this? Do you think we should
Yeah.
enact laws and, to have like minimum hour requirements, or what do you think is the best way to combat this?
Yeah, that may be. We definitely need tighter restrictions on businesses that are taking advantage of the part-time labor loophole. It's hard to legislate that necessarily because it would take a lot of effort, but there are things you can do. I would definitely agree that do need to be tighter protections, but I don't. This issue is hard to address without addressing like redefining what part time means, and
Yeah.
it would create a lot of legislative headache. But there's definitely, I think again, this is all fixed if we break up the conglomerates, but yeah, that is an issue, and I do think a lot of companies are getting away with that. So I would be totally for a protection in terms of like a mandatory if you hire somebody full time and it lists you can't list them as part time or else you're liable, something like that.
Okay. In your own words, what type of where do you believe you fall on the political spectrum? I'm just curious because a
Oh
lot of the
yeah.
times you'll see people more where I live in Texas, you see a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I'm a moderate," and then you get to talking to them, and they seem like the most, you
Just
know,
Republican
largest,
after Republican
the, lar-
talking
the
point.
largest Trump supporter you've ever met. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Yeah, that's a lot of yeah, I know the Tim Pools, right? So,
yeah.
I personally define myself as like a social liberal. So, I
Mhm.
believe we need a social safety net to catch the people that aren't good at capitalism, right? It's not
Yeah.
everybody's a winner. And I don't think we should just punish people because they aren't very good at a system that you're not really designed to be good at. So I
Mhm.
believe that there should be a social safety net in terms of, social programs. I do think we need a housing program that is substantive. And there are ways to get that, but a healthcare apparatus that works for the people, not for private equity and private firms, or private insurers, I should say. And programs like SNAP that are able to make sure my fellow American doesn't go to bed hungry.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's very similar to that's in a way similar to my political beliefs. I'm a bit more. I hate to use the term like radical, but
Yeah.
I don't. I like to admit. I like to say that you know, as it goes, day by day, we're going more and more to the country's going more and more, worse,
Far
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like that. And it's I've remember back in the day when my mom and dad were like, "Oh yeah, we identify as Republicans." And then now it's like my parents are like, "No, we're not. We don't want to be assigned with them." And my parents are, pretty deep South,
Yeah.
deep South Southern people, but they're also highly educated. So there's, a factor in that, both have
So,
master's degree.
no, I totally see what you mean. And as in radical, do you mean like, so what it sounds like is you want to see mainly like the people that were responsible for hijacking the Republican Party and making what it is today. You want them to be uh, like actually see criminal charges because they have broke the law in a lot of cases.
I mean, yeah, I think we do need
Yeah.
criminal charges, but I also think we need less. I mean, not to sound like a broken record for basically the whole Democratic Party, but I think we need less old people in office. We need people who can better represent, me as a,
Yeah,
someone in their someone in their 20s, the
for
early
sure.
20s. I'm 22. I think
Hell
we
yeah,
need people
man.
who
Well, I'm
aren't,
proud of you. I'm proud of you for being in politics. And you're not only in
yeah.
politics, you're engaging with people. And that's what
Oh yeah.
America is all about. So, what I would say so just in the short term, I'll give you the list of things we need to do as a Democrat, as the Democratic Party. Number one, as soon as we get power in 2026, we got to start investigatory bodies in the Congress.
Hmm.
Donald Trump is getting away with a lot more than we know about. And I think once the American people truly see what the hell he's doing, they'll be disgusted. Right now, it's
Yeah.
obfuscated by things like the right wing media apparatus, but that is slowly failing as right wing influencer after right wing influencer says, I'm done with MAGA, right?
Yeah.
Second
I
thing
mean,
oh, go on.
as somebody who does a lot of I do a lot of political activism and other things like that. That's something I have been very concerned with is the Trump presidency and the Trump government saying
Yeah.
we can't trust the mainstream media. And seeing as the media, back in the day it was the newspaper and people like that, but now it's the news sources and stuff saying, oh, we can't trust them, causing
Hmm.
that widespread distrust in the media is very concerning because it's
Yeah,
like,
that actually gets
you
to
know,
my second point, brother. We need people like you and me. We need people that are willing to use their voice and project it out into the world. I say a lot of the time, I've always loved politics, but I didn't really see the drive to make a political channel until I saw what happened to Charlie. Because I
yeah,
knew this meant, and I'm not saying Charlie was a saint. Charlie Kirk is a fucking douchebag,
yeah,
racist. But what it did is it made me realize, oh shit, now this is getting to a point where I don't agree with it. But I even had some inklings before then because something I noticed, and this is a big criticism for 2024, we didn't have that right wing or that left wing media apparatus, I should say.
hmm,
People like Joe Rogan were this guy is dumb as hell, but a lot of people watch him. And we kind of failed to address that. So I think the number two thing we need to do is use our own voice and support voices that are on the alt left media. People like Brian Tyler Cohen, Pondering
hmm,
Politics, I really appreciate. I don't really appreciate people like Breaking Points, Kyle Kalinske, I'm a little iffy on. But there are a lot of great voices in our in the left wing media apparatus that just need to be amplified. And I am seeing that.
hmm.
So those are the two things in the short term. In the next couple years, we really need to work on. Now, as for 2028, and if we get in office, we have to add 4 justices to the Supreme Court before we do
Yeah.
anything. Because they
Um,
are ruling from the bench. They are using SCOTUS to make rules, to make law.
yeah, I
That
mean, they have,
is completely against what the Supreme Court's original design was for. And also, if you want to sell it to a normie, 13 circuits, 13 justices. Just like that. It fits like a glove.
Yeah, it's also the fact that in the United States, we have the main, the bodies of government, and they're already controlling the courts and the presidential branch. I mean, what next? That's kind of your checks and balances are going out the window, along with controlling the
Yeah.
media. I mean,
Well, the
I'm
Supreme
not
Court
trying.
should not be controlled like this. This is
I mean, I
completely
don't.
against what it was meant to be
I don't.
treated like. What's up?
I don't think we should. I don't think we should partisanize. Have courts be party based in the first place. I
No,
think
I
that's kind of
totally
a.
agree. But unfortunately, what happened with Mitch McConnell, it broke our court. It really did
Mhm.
because he did something totally unprecedented and undemocratic at the end of the day. Uh, One moment, I got to shout out. Thank you for the corgi. Thank you for the corgi oatmeal. Sorry, you gotta make a little
Yeah.
bread, as the kids say. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, what Mitch McConnell did by not allowing for Obama to even have his day in the Senate and in the wider Congress, it really broke our system because what that allowed for is partisan hacks like Brett Kavanaugh to go on there. And Clarence Thomas has always been this kind of weirdo. I mean, if you read his dissents, they truly are like Reddit posts. I shit you not.
Yeah.
They're insane, bro. So,
Yeah.
I think that's something we need to do as well. And we're not gonna appoint some partisan hacks. What we're gonna do is appoint people that are truly have a deep appreciation for the Constitution, and those inherently are pretty liberal people, believe it or not, because they
Yeah.
see what's happening with Trump, and he's showing why the Republican ideal is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that my very
Hey,
MAGA
thank you so much,
grandparents say, though,
Oatmeal.
which I've kind of
Thank
adopted,
you.
is we need more common sense here in government. I mean, if there's the whole reasonable person fallacy. That's something I use a lot. Is if a reasonable person, an outside observer, would see that the government does not appear to be adhering to morals, let alone the laws, that's kind of
Well,
seems.
yeah. I think the issue, like I said, Trump has really exposed some flaws in our democracy, and
Mhm.
I think what see we I was just having a conversation with that conservative earlier, and he was
Yeah.
saying, and I think it's a true statement, you have to pass the beer test a lot of the time. And so a lot of people felt like they couldn't share a beer with Kamala, which is heartbreaking
Mhm.
because I'm a stoner. I'd share a joint with her, but
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think a lot of
agreed.
so what we're gonna need in the future is somebody like that, and we have great candidates that fit that role. Whether it's Mark Kelly in
Oh, yeah.
Arizona, whether it's John Ossoff, these are great people that are truly um, good public servants wanting to help the country.
I live in Texas in the first congressional district, and I worked in a campaign as a volunteer with a guy by the name of Dax Alexander. Very interesting gentleman, very nice, and he just the kind of guy that you go to one of his political meetings or whatever, and he's just the guy that you get along with and you joke around with, and you can either talk about something serious like what our government's come to or what's going on abroad, or you can joke about the family or other stuff, and it's a very amazing thing that there's people that you can actually get along with and
Yeah.
not look at them and be like, that person rubs me the wrong way in an absolute repulsive manner.
Well, this is why I think it's super dope what you're doing because I think you're a pretty reasonable person and you're showing a better side of the Democratic Party. For a long time,
Hmm.
a lot of people felt like they were these stuffy incumbents that always won. And so you're shaking that up and you're showing people, hey, we are a diverse party with a bunch of
Yeah.
ideas. But like I said, I do think there is this. Um, Perception of woke scolding that we have, and we got to get rid of that. People aren't going to
Oh
be
yeah.
up to date with the pronouns. They're not going to be up to date with everything, and we gotta show grace. I think we're learning that, and I think we've learned that. Um,
I do have one question. This is
yeah.
from I only caught the tail end of the last caller talking about the pronouns and all that. For me,
Mm-hmm.
my main issue with the whole thing about I have a lot of trans people in my, friend group, family, all that stuff. For
Yeah.
me, I don't fully understand it, but for me, it's first of all, it's a respect thing. But when it comes to, being gay, that's my big ticket issue because my opinion, everyone tries to fight it on a religious level, right? It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
religiously wrong. For
It's
me,
against the
since when
Constitution.
since when did our our religion go, become part of our government? Why is
Damn right. Damn
that's
right. And
that's my issue.
I'm proud to hear that, man. Just proud as a fellow American because you're right. There should be no religious basis for why you are against homosexuality because that has no place in our government.
And
The
then
trans issue is a freedom issue as well. And I think it's much better, just from a democratic standpoint about what's going on in the future, that we make it a freedom issue. This is
yeah,
about freedom. This is about choosing your own destiny, truly. And
yeah, and then
anybody
my
against it is against America. I truly,
playing kind of spinning off of what you said, my argument for transgender and for homosexuality and whatever else you want to do is it really anyone's business what two consenting people do in the bedroom or what somebody, two consenting adults, I should say, do in the
hmm
bedroom? Is that really any of our business? Do we want to be the people who are like, or does the government want to be the government that's just like we have our,
yeah.
our nose all up in what two consenting people, two consenting
Well,
adults are
the
doing?
Republicans have no ground to stand on big government. They're trying
Hmm.
to federalize our elections. But I know what
Yeah.
you're. So what they would do is shift to, well, they're teaching our kids it all and all that stuff. But the point,
Don't our kids have a right to know? Shouldn't we be
well, what
educating
I
people
argue
early?
is, well, what I argue is, if there are no resources for people that experience that experience homosexuality, bisexuality, trans, or are trans, they are going to be abused more. And we see
Mhm.
this because what's going to happen is some older guy or girl, we're inclusive here, is going to take advantage of them. And we saw this with sexual education, and we see this with uh, LGBT students that are curious about themselves, but they are not provided the material to truly
Yeah.
understand who they are.
I think the whole, kicking the political argument out from under them, I think that kind of makes their whole argument topple because it's like, on a moral level, I think, yeah, I don't think we should be teaching little kids about, sex or, homosexuality or, let alone
Oh, and
homosexuality. But
most of these books, by the way, they're high school. I haven't seen a
yeah, that's
single
what I'm saying.
example of a middle school. Yeah,
I've
exactly.
done I've I've done a lot of research papers on this topic.
And
My
there's
my
just
argument
no
is,
evidence, right? I mean,
yeah,
I've done
right.
my research. Yeah, there's just no evidence. It's
I think,
and I'm trying to feel like, what are these people? And they're just kind of innocent books. Some of them are like a little more romantic and heavy with the sexual overtones, but they're in like the top section 12th grade books, you know?
yeah, and I mean it's just like there's first of all, it's like a hot take. I believe we should lower the age of for access to online pornography because I think we should have it or higher the age of consent. I don't care either one. I think we should have the age of consent equal with the age of access to pornography because it's like, are
Oh,
so you're
well,
equal.
if that's the case, I am actually the opposite because I am personally for hiring the age of consent. I
Yeah,
think it,
I mean either way.
I am, yeah, I'm very much for hiring the age because I don't think people are, very well aware when you hit 18. We see a lot of stories about how people were taken
Yeah,
advantage of as soon as they got out of high
I think
school.
the
So,
the best way to negate that is to have better sex ed and have
yeah,
better education on those topics because the only thing that will stop that is not making it harder to get a hold of that stuff or making it harder to make it higher because having been a teenager, I can admit that knowing the age of consent, coming from a very highly educated family and having, discussions. I mean, my mother has a degree in political science, a master's degree. My father also has a bachelor's, and so we talk about politics a lot. Having, known, I didn't care. So age of consent was not on my mind when it came to, doing stuff with my partners, right? So
Yeah, well, that's because you were of the age that um you wouldn't have been, how would say it, in trouble. You would not have been in
yeah,
trouble. But,
yeah,
older if an older person were to, take
yeah,
advantage of you, and you're smart, but there are people that are smart that get
yeah.
taken
I mean,
advantage of all the time. So I personally do think it's like 21, and I think it should be 21. I know that's kind of extreme, but I've seen a
my
lot
big
of
ticket
examples
issue,
of children that are
yeah,
heartbreakingly taken advantage of.
my big ticket issue, well, not big ticket, but a pet peeve of mine is how growing up, where I live, there's I believe it's called a tiered age of consent. So the age of consent is 16, right? And then at 18, you can access pornography in the state of Texas. I've lived all around the world. My dad was we traveled a lot for his job, but where I lived in Texas, whereas pornography you could access, you had to be 18. And for me, it's like, why can you have sex at 16 but have to be 18 for pornography? I get it's more addictive and other stuff. Just
Well,
kind of a
the
food for thought.
ideal is that the child wouldn't be engaging in that, but I think it is pretty. People are gonna have sex when they're in their teens. It's just kind of a fact. So
Yeah,
I do agree that there should be better access to understanding these, and I think a age limit for uh, pornography is stupid because I was 14, and I think that it is going to lead. I just typed. Never mind.
I gotta
um,
go.
oh, you
I
gotta
gotta
go.
go.
All right. Have a
Yeah.
great day, man. Take care.
You as well. Bye bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Of course.
All right.
Well, there we go. There we go. Hey, and shout out to Crank That Drive 1854. Now watch this drive. Shout out to Bill Clinton. Or no, that was George Bush. What am I saying? For sending $5. That's huge. I think we're super close to hitting our Rightoid of the Day vote, which if we hit that, ladies and gentlemen, I will put up a vote, and you guys will get to vote on what right-wing creators content you want me to review. I think we're only 2 away. I could be. Let me check here. Anyways, thank you guys so much for the likes and the subs. You guys are killing it today, as always. Oh no, we're only 1 away. I forgot George Soros. We are only 1 away, ladies and gentlemen. So if you support the channel and you want to show your appreciation, feel free to send a donation through super chat or buying a membership. Anyways, let me read Crank That Drives chat there. I know we talked forever, but I also wanted to bounce an idea off you that I think 100% fixes college and student loans. Well, hey man, you can call in tomorrow. Usually I do like to make it like a one time per day, but if you want to call in tomorrow and talk a little more, I'm more than, feel free. Also, you guys can join my Discord community, which will give you the latest happenings in the TGDEU. Let me get that link for you guys, and then I will answer that.
Call from.
My name is Bob.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Hey Bob, how are you doing today? I'm doing well. So did you disagree with anything that's been said on the live so far? Yeah, so I know you're just getting ready to say a slur, so I'm not going to let the people hear you. Boom! Got him! Let's go. Take that. L, L, L. Loser. I'm getting better at that, folks. I am getting much better at that. Folded like a gosh darn piece of paper. Folded like a folder, folks. Like a folder. Are you okay, Andre? Or what who is this? Andres, are you okay? Something going on, man? Anyways, folks, feel free to call in and tell me why I am so wrong. A lot of people are coping, seething. It's very sad. I'm just glad wokeness is dead. No, woke, dark woke, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you're about to see. You're about to see the return of dark woke. Or not return, you're going to see the birth. And you conservatives better be careful. I would not wish upon my enemy to be cast of the shadow of dark woke. Just memeing now. I hate Trump? Well, welcome to the club, my friend. Welcome to the club. If you guys are enjoying the stream, do not forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. We just hit 1,800 subs, and I think we're already getting super close to 1,900. So I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. You guys are the absolute most based people in the entire world. I say it all the time. I really do. I think we have a great community out here that is super accepting of different ideas and how people feel. So, yeah, I think it's great. Democrats and Republicans won't fix the country. Well, you're wrong about one of them. I think the actual I don't know. Republicans is something, both sides. Yeah, that's just not true. It's not both sides. Unfortunately, the Republicans have sold their soul to Donald Trump and his ambitions. So it's unfortunately not both sides. Anyways, the left is violent? What are you talking about? How is the left violent? I would love to see an example. Are you going to say Tyler Robinson? That's mental illness, my friend. That's not the left's rhetoric. This kid's clueless. Well, old man, if you want to prove me wrong, feel free to call in. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, I have not had the curse of time be upon me. And I think you're going to see a lot of pushback in that type of rhetoric, my friend. We're taking over. You better get ready, because you're going to see a lot more faces like mine appear on your TV screen telling you how much money Donald Trump has stolen from you. And that's just because we care about the facts. Oh, I love this. The BLM riots. So the BLM riots were, unfortunately, because our police forces had a systemic issue of racism. But I think, fortunately, we've improved upon that area by leaps and bounds. We have. And the ICE riots. What ICE riots are you talking about? Oh my God, you're talking about the Waymo? You're right. You're right, man. The Waymo fires. No, not the Waymo fires. Jesus, get these guys a fucking pillow. You know what I mean? Fucking princesses, dude. Oh God. No. Not the Waymo, the one Waymo that got burnt. Oh, God. Not the Waymos. Please, somebody protect the Waymos. You know what? Antifa riots? When was that? I didn't hear about an Antifa riot. So you're supporting violence. I mean, it's just the same as when, Donald Trump Jr. made fun of Paul Pelosi when he got the shit beat out of him. I didn't see you guys clutching pearls then, so sorry you guys can't take what you get. I'm sorry. I know that's hard. But I know most of you are bottoms in a lot of ways. You're very submissive, so I know you can take it. I believe in you. 2 billion destroyed during the BLM riots. All right, what about the 300 billion we were going to send Iran because of the military actions we took? Don't cry to me about an American business that has insurance when you guys are totally okay with sending 300 billion to Iran and spending about 100 billion already on a pointless, fruitless war. Please. Trump lives rent-free in my head. That's actually not true, my friend. I provide real solutions, as to you guys just kind of soy and shit yourself. And I think that is a sign. You guys need more fiber. It's very sad. Have you ever seen a MAGA eat a leafy green, ladies and gentlemen? I haven't. RFK's out here talking about health, but I'd say the least healthy people are unfortunately on the MAGA side. Unfortunately, you know, I was having a conversation with somebody who was complaining about overweight people, and I had to hold back, and because I was thinking the whole time, you realize that, you know, large amount of Trump voters are unfortunately not very, very slim, let's just say. You're a fucking blind fool, dude! And you have not hit puberty yet, so why are you talking to me? Didn't you see? It says 18 plus, and that's the same for the chat, folks. Iran was quiet with cash? Was quit with cash? What does that mean? LOL, you're an idiot! Okay, man. At least I can reach the top shelf. You know what I'm saying, guys? At least I can get up there. I don't got dust bunnies on my bookshelf, bud. I don't got dust bunnies on my bookshelf, okay? Anyways. This guy is an idiot, says Brandon. Brandon. I don't know. Brandon, I'm just going to call you Brandon, okay, man? Explain Biden's presidential pardons the day before having office. I think it was corrupt. Yeah, I think that was bad. That he gave to Hunter? Yeah, I think that was bad. I don't support that. I understand why he did it, but I don't support it. What's the subject tonight? I mean, it really just whatever. You know what I mean? Just more talking points without any facts. All right, what do you want me to... What do you have an issue that I said? Steve. What do you take issue with? I wish some of these people that were chirping in chat would just call in, you know? My number's right there. If you have such an issue with me, then... The subject is Marxist propaganda, which I have not talked about at all. God, it's like the Red Scare 2.0. You guys are fucking pissing yourself over something we solved in the 80s and 90s. What happened to the Soviet Union, guys? Do you see a communist country that has done well? Why would we want to emulate that? Jesus Christ, man. 300 billion to Iran never happened. Yeah, that's because Donald Trump is an incompetent leader. And he wasn't able to get the memorandum of understanding through. Sorry, man. You want socialism. Oh, wait, my bad. That's not your voice. You want socialism. Well, my friend, I don't want socialism. I believe in privatization. I believe we need a social safety network, but that's not necessarily socialism. It's very clear a lot of these people don't understand. You know, socialism on the left is kind of like libertarian on the right. Can mean whatever the fuck you want it to mean. Pan-humanism when? Probably when the aliens invade, unfortunately.
Call from.
Bill.
To accept, press 1.
Hey, Bill, how are you doing today? That's good to hear. So, yeah.
And it says how Democrats will fix things. I'm just curious, how is that?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of great policies that the Democrats support that I think would really get the country moving in a positive direction. Some examples are public option for healthcare. I think a lot of Americans are unfortunately dealing with extremely high healthcare costs. And I know every Democrat in the party supports a public option, but it's not just the policy that I necessarily support the Democrats on. There are systematic issues with our representative democracy. And so I know a lot of Democrats support, for example, uncapping the House, which would lead to better representation for the people who really don't feel represented by their representative, and also systematic changes like getting rid of a filibuster. That is great when times are not nearly as divided, but now they are divided, and I think the party in charge should be able to enact policy that the people voted for, whether that be Republican or Democrat.
Hmm. So this public option, how would that be financed?
Through taxes, as most things are.
Yeah, like is there a specific way? Because that would be quite a cost increase to be able
Not
to.
actually. I mean, it really
No.
wouldn't. When I look at the predictions, we already spend a large amount on Medicaid, and Medicare, and I do think there are some inefficiencies that we have in the government. That's why I believe in funding the IRS, so we can actually get rid of some of those inefficiencies and put the money where the people want it.
So funding things more and growing the government would get rid of more. It would make it more efficient.
Well, I don't deny that there are a lot of redundancies in our government and a lot of unnecessary finances and even some fraud. I don't deny that. So I think that funding the IRS is how we stop a lot of this stuff. But, we already have a Doge and we've had it for a while. It's the Government Accountability Office, I believe. I could be wrong with that name. But we have abilities to find these inefficiencies. And, a stat that I saw was that for every $1 you put into the IRS, you get $3 back. So there are ways to come up with loose change, as the kids say. But I think that a lot of people would be okay with higher taxes if they actually saw their government working for them. We don't see that right now. It is inefficient, and it is going to take a true effort from both sides to fix it, but I think there's an appetite for that. I really do.
So you would expand government to look to cut down on inefficiencies in government, even though you admit that we have processes for getting rid of inefficiencies in government already.
No, we haven't.
Why would we have to? Why you just
No,
you said
Doge, you realize Doge cost more money than it actually produced, right?
Yeah, whatever. But
Well,
you're saying
that's
that
not
we have
true government. That's not a true office that would find these government
let's just
inefficiencies.
go back to it. You said we have ways of finding inefficiencies now. Why don't we use
Yes,
those ways instead of
I
creating
agree.
more?
Why didn't Doge use, I
But
agree.
you're arguing for making it larger,
No, I'm arguing to
which would
fund
cost
these
more.
agencies. You're trying to fit me into a box, my friend. But again, you can cut on government while expanding programs that help the people. There's no fallacy there.
How do you
So
cut on something that's taxpayer funded by cutting taxes or
how do you
or
why
diminishing it?
I'm
You're
not
saying
saying to cut
you're saying
taxes.
that
I'm saying there would be
you're
a
saying
tax
that
increase, sir.
okay, and then so why increase taxes though on people that already pay taxes? We already have a lot of people benefiting from those tax monies that someone like myself pays, and it doesn't seem like taxing people that are working more would solve the issue.
Yeah, so there's a lot of money left on the table when it comes to the top 1%, unfortunately. They get through loopholes and things like that. So I would be for fixing those loopholes so they pay their fair share.
But
Amazon
what
for
about
years.
people like me? I don't want to hear about the 1% and how to tax them. How would
Yeah, sir. So
causing higher taxes
how would it cause higher
for
taxes for
everybody?
you?
Because it's gonna, they don't only do it for certain classes of people. Both parties
Yes, I
have said
know.
they would,
Have you never
and then
heard
they
hold
don't.
on, have you never heard of a tax bracket, sir? Don't give me
Oh, I
that.
have.
Yeah,
No, I
so
have.
you
But
know.
but
So
you're
you
saying,
know that what
but
you
you're,
just said is a lie.
what do you mean?
You just said
That the
there's not
government
certain
says that they'll
classes
tax
of
that
people. Yes, there
no, I
is.
said that
There's
that
totally a
they
tax
say
bracket.
no, you didn't listen. I said they say that they'll tax certain classes of people only, but they end up taxing everybody. They
Yeah,
say,
so
"Oh, it's
I'm
only
not
going to affect
saying
these
that, am
people."
I? I'm not saying that.
No, but what I'm asking you is, considering that that's what government does, right? Why
That's
would
what
you argue
what
for
does
more
government do? Just steal your money?
taxes
Is that,
more?
so question, do you not believe in this American project we've been doing for 250 years? Seriously.
Oh, I do, but we've strayed
Oh,
very
so
far from
no,
what
you
it's
don't.
supposed
No,
to
you
be.
don't. No, we haven't, sir. Don't say we strayed very far from what our founders intended. It's a representative democracy where the people are represented. There are issues with money in our politics, but don't throw our entire government. The government is a culmination of what the people wanted. So if you don't like our system, you can leave. But if you actually if you actually respect our system, then you will understand why taxes need to be increased and why certain things have to happen. As in, why
Taxes don't
we
need to
need
be
to
increased.
increase taxes for the 22 million Americans that don't have insurance and have experienced medical crises far earlier in their life than they should have.
Yeah. And what about people like myself that will just get taxed more? I've got 5 children,
Yeah,
and
so
a
you would
lot of my
actually
money gets
benefit
taken
for,
from by
yeah.
the government,
Yeah, so this
and it
comes to
has
what are we
been, which
raising the
actually
taxes,
in the
sir?
last year it's gotten better.
I'm sure. How's it gotten better?
Well, I haven't been taxed as much.
Oh, so that's it? So you don't see but those taxes are ate up. You know where they're ate up at? The gas pump. They're ate up at the grocery store. They're ate up by all of these things that Donald Trump has been doing to hurt the economy. And what I'm saying is that we're not lying to you. We're not saying, oh, I'm going to cut taxes and things are going to get better. Things got worse when Donald Trump cut taxes. You notice
Well,
that?
I
That you
know the
notice how
Democrats
there's a
aren't going to
lot
cut
more
taxes.
murders, there's a lot more people that aren't getting to the ambulance. There's a lot of cuts that a lot of smaller
Really?
municipalities
I
had to
haven't noticed
make.
that actually.
Where do you
I haven't
live?
noticed that. Do
Where do
you
you
have
live?
statistics
Where do
about
you live?
less people getting
Where do you
ambulances?
live?
I live in Hawaii.
Oh my fucking, you live in Hawaii. So yes,
Yes, I
this
do.
is what I'm talking about. The elite. You're I'm joking, by the way. But sir,
I'm what? I'm what?
I
Finish
just
finish
said
your thought. I'm
you're
what?
the elite. I was making a joke,
I'm
my
the
friend.
elite.
I
I'm
was
the elite
making
because I
a
live in Hawaii.
joke. Have you ever heard of a joke? Okay,
Yeah, I
thank
have.
you. So
I'm just curious
anyways,
why that would even make sense. Just because I
yeah,
live in one
because
place makes me an elite.
a lot of people in Hawaii are living pretty great lives. Do you
Oh yeah,
not
my
live
life
a
is
good
pretty
life?
great.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
do
So,
because I work
sir,
hard for it.
okay, that's great.
It's not like
And
it's
I
not just
want a
given to
lot of
me.
people to be in your same situation. But unfortunately, they are crippled by high health insurance premiums that aren't really
Yes.
justified as they deserve. And so a public option would
No, I
make
know.
it necessary for these people these corporations to actually decrease their rates because now they have they have competition for it. So while you would see an
So
increase in taxes, you make up for it in areas like healthcare.
so I'm wondering how the government would provide affordable competition to the insurance companies.
Yeah, by offering a less quality service. So it may take a little bit to, I don't know, see a specialist for your knee, or it may take a little bit to source a specialist for, I don't know, like a tumor potentially. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get rid of private insurance, at least not right now. Definitely not right now. So
I'm just curious
once
though
you become,
how they
yeah,
would
let me
create
finish
a
my
system
statement,
that's
sir. You're going to let me
competitive.
finish my statement, right?
Sure.
Thank you. So the people, you will still have private insurance and that won't be going away, but now they actually have to compete.
But how would offering a lower quality of service that takes longer be competitive in that
Yeah,
market?
because it's free.
It's not free though.
It's not, oh yeah,
It's
taxes.
tax.
Well, listen, man,
It's
I'm
taxpayer
sorry I'm more
funded.
patriotic than you, and I'm okay with paying
Oh,
taxes.
but I'm just curious though. I'm not trying to say you're unpatriotic or anything like that. I'm just asking you a
Well,
question.
I am
How is
saying
that going to
you,
provide
no, you
how?
need to be
But
more
how would
patriotic.
how would how would offering a lower quality service
I've
that
already told
takes
you because it's
longer?
free.
No, because it's free
Yeah,
is gonna make them.
you know how people that are in the lower tax brackets typically don't have to pay as much as those in the higher tax
But
brackets. So they're not going to be paying the same prices on their taxes as someone like probably you who has a nice
okay,
house.
let's say that you
And you
and a
don't
couple
need
other people.
you don't need the free healthcare because you would be able to afford private insurance. Anyways, go on.
Oh, well, let's say that you and a couple other people run businesses that offer similar. You each run a insurance company, right? And you offer rates that are fairly similar to each other. And somebody comes into the market and says, "I will offer something that is less quality, takes much longer, but it's free." How would you compete against that?
Yeah, well, you would lower your prices. And again,
How?
you would
Well, I
compete
don't know.
because you would
But why would
appeal
you
to the
lower?
sir, you would appeal to the people that don't want to wait as long. You would appeal to the people that don't want a lower quality of service. This is basic economics, sir.
But that doesn't say how that would cause competition.
It would
If
cause
that's not
yes, it
competition,
does.
you're
You
saying it's
know
not
how this
competition
causes
because
competition. Don't act dense. You know how this
you say
causes
it causes
competition.
competition, right? But instead of creating competition, all it's doing is offering a choice to other people. It doesn't change how the
No,
insurance
it does.
companies
No, it
operate.
doesn't. Because what if you're a healthy young man like myself? I have to pay
So
for
how is
private
that
insurance,
competition?
but if I had the ability, I would go on a public option because I'm healthy. I work out. I'm a very healthy individual, so I wouldn't want to pay for that.
So
And so they
how
would
would
have to
that
appeal
cause?
to people like me, the people that are healthy, but they're with certain benefits and changing their service and maybe lowering the price.
Yeah, but
This
what
is
incentive do
basic
they have to
economics,
lower the
sir. What do
price?
you not understand? Like, seriously.
If they've already got your business, right? Why would they lower their price?
Because I would be inclined to switch over to the public option because I'm healthy.
Yeah, and so I don't understand why that would
How do you
cause
not
them to want to
understand
compete
that? How do you not? Hold on, sir.
because they already offer a better service.
Yeah,
Why
but
would they
I'm
lower
paying
their
for it.
prices
I
for
would
their
rather
better
not
service?
pay for it.
Yeah, most people would rather not pay for things. It doesn't mean you just get things for free. Plus, you'd still be paying for it through taxation.
Through taxation, which is much more heavy on the upper end. Listen, man, I don't think you've brought a valid argument because you know how these things work. You know that people,
No,
you know
actually,
how
my only
quality,
point, really.
do you know how
Oh
like
no, I was going to tell
quantity
you
versus
exactly why I
quality
called.
works? Do you know how quantity
Yeah,
versus
so
quality
I
works?
called because I was watching your stream and all you're doing is talking crap, and everyone was saying, "Hey, what's the actual solutions you have?" So at least I got you talking about what you said you were going to talk about instead of just talking crap the whole time. So that was really my point. I didn't really care if I had a valid argument or what your argument
So
was.
do you
I just
agree
wanted to
that
see
a
what you had to
public
say.
option is best?
No,
Why not? You haven't provided a valid argument for it. Thank you
as I
for
don't want to pay more
impugning my
taxes.
character. Thank you for impugning my character and
You're
soying
welcome.
out. That was actually very beautiful. But no,
Soying
you
out.
haven't just because you don't want to pay more taxes. Well, guess what? A lot of
Yeah, I don't want
Americans
to pay
would
more
be okay
taxes.
with paying more taxes if it meant
Cool, they
for a
can pay
good
more.
social safety net. So
Oh,
you're in the minor majority there or minority there, buddy.
minor majority.
Yeah, I
I like it.
misspoke. Have you ever misspoke before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So let's not act like children and let's actually engage with the points I'm making instead of soying out and claiming bad faith like you just
I
tried
love
to
this
do.
soying out. You trying to say that I'm acting like a child when you're the one that's saying soying out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
I'm not a
I
500-year-old that, these are the words younger people use. So can we keep up, or do
yeah,
you
but
need help, old man?
you're the one saying things like that, like soying out. Have I said you're acting up or you're being dumb or anything like that? No, dude. So
No, but you did
just
just
asking you
literally
questions.
try to impugn my character. You were like, you were making fun
No,
of
I
people.
told you the
Yeah, I'm
reason that
sorry
I
that
called.
MAGA for like
Yeah,
the past 6 or 10 years have been utterly bigoted and brutal towards the left. I'm sorry, man. If you can't take it, maybe you should
it
tell your
goes
side
both
to
ways.
moderate.
I don't have a side, dude.
Oh, you're one of these moderates that are supposedly so
No,
moderate but
I'm
agree with
definitely
like
not a
every
moderate.
MAGA talking point.
Nope, not a moderate. So that doesn't really work out. I don't really agree with most MAGA talking points. I don't
I'm
really
sure.
wholly support the MAGA movement.
Then why did you
I'm
call
not
in
really
trying to defend them?
to get you to talk. I'm not actually trying to defend them.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard me say anything defending Donald Trump
So
or
you don't have
Republican
to
actions?
defend Donald Trump to defend Republican Party or Republican policies, sir. And you are defending the current system, which is inherently
No,
a Republican policy set.
I,
So
I
yes,
I
you
would
are.
actually like
Wow.
less government involvement across the board.
Well,
That would be great,
that a lot of
actually.
people disagree with you, and I'm sorry that you
Uh,
have been so burned by the government that you think it's all bullshit, but people like me understand what government is actually supposed to be used for. It's not supposed to be used for enriching the 1%. It's supposed to be used for helping the people. And the government
but
for the longest time hasn't helped the people. And so I'm for
oh,
that. If you're against that, you can move somewhere else, man.
well, why don't you try moving somewhere else and seeing what it's like living under a government that does help the
I
people?
love this. I
Then you
love
can use
America, and
then
I'm
you
a
could
thousand
then you
times
could
more
use that
patriotic than
experience
you.
then you could use that experience to come back to America and use those ideas and say, hey, I've experienced this. This is what
Oh,
I've lived. You should try this.
yeah.
Have
So
you
we're
ever
tired of old
lived
people
outside the
like you.
country?
We're tired of old
Old
people like you constantly
old people.
speaking down and saying, "Oh, little buddy, you don't know what you're talking about." That's so fucking
Old people.
that's patronizing as hell, bro. Why don't you go
What
get
what
more
makes
experience? Why don't you move to Russia and see what
what
what your
oh
ideology
I've
truly
been there.
entails?
I've been there. But what makes me an old person?
Did that hurt your feelings?
No, I'm just curious actually. It didn't make me it made me
It
laugh
seems
if
like it hurt
anything.
your feelings. You have 5 kids, bro. Sorry,
Yeah, I do.
are you actually super young, sir?
Uh I wouldn't say super young. I wouldn't call myself an old person.
Okay, well, you got some boomer talking points, so
Uh
sorry I assumed.
it's good, dude. Yeah, definitely not an old person, but
All right.
that's okay.
Well, I hope you have
Yeah.
it seems like the conversation's kind of done there, and I hope you have a great day, man. I mean, I know we disagree on things, and but at the end of the day, we are both American, so I
Yeah,
I hope you have a great day, and shout out
you
to
too.
Hawaii. It's a beautiful place.
It definitely is.
Hell yeah. Take care, man.
All right. You have a good one.
Yep. Hey, man, I don't like leaving off on a bad note. We disagree on a lot of things, and I, anyways, we disagree on some things, but at the end of the day, like I said, we're all American, and we're trying to make our country better. Oh, wow. Hey, how are you doing today, sir? I'm doing well. So, did you disagree with anything that's been said on the live so far or with the prompt?
I mean, yes, it's an important issue. But I think there's other more pressing issues currently, though, I'd like to talk about.
Like what?
The war in Iran. I'm not going to disagree or well, I don't agree with Trump and the Republicans. I do think they screwed us in that regard. However, I don't think that the Democrats are going to be able to fix that.
Oh, I totally disagree. It was a Democrat that got the JCPOA, which had its issues, but it was much more of like I saw the JCPOA as a framework to build on, not to tear up. I mean, they were compliant as far as letting us into their reactor sites and all that stuff. It was just military bases they were a little uncomfortable with letting people into, and I don't blame them. And again, no credit for, Iran is a horrible, well, not Iran, but the IRGC is a horrible, horrible, dictatorial, tyrannical, religiously, all the bad words, right? They are that. But I did see some real progress. I mean, just it's impossible to think of today that they would let us anywhere near that type of stuff. So I think the big mistake was tearing up the JCPOA. As for what we need to do now, it's difficult to say, right? And that's why I think Democratic leadership is kind of specially positioned to address this issue because we have a lot of veterans in our rank, a lot of people that served and have respect for our military, but are not nearly as foolhardy as Trump is, and will respect our military leaders and uh, listen to what they have to say.
I agree the JCPOA was a good thing. I think it was a mistake that Trump got rid of the JCPOA. I guess my point here is that right now we're stuck in a escalatory
Oh
battle
yeah,
with Iran, right?
we're
And
gonna be in that
the
bitch
oil
for
price,
a while. Sorry.
oil prices, LNG. No, it's okay. I think oil prices and LNG are going to go super high as well as fertilizer, and we're going to be in a real recession here in the next couple of years. So yeah,
All I'm
Trump and the
saying,
Republicans screwed,
who's
but
the
as far
I
as
mean, look
what
at all
can
the
we do
other
now?
recessions we've had, right? Like, who got us out of those? We had the 2008 financial crisis. It was a Democrat, Obama, and then 2020 COVID was like it's a miracle that we recovered so quick from COVID. While everybody else saw huge inflation and parties didn't know how to deal with it, Biden had put through the Inflation Reduction Act, which paid for itself, which is kind of amazing. But anyways, sorry, I'm a nerd about this type of stuff. But
No,
anyways, what I'm saying is I agree. I think we're probably gonna I mean, I would hope that we can get out of it somehow, but I do think that we are entering in an age where our military and the American might is going to be tested. It may not come it may not come now, but it will come in the future. And I think we need a leader that is able to unify the country and actually orient us towards a goal that is achievable and reestablish American might. That's why I look at people like John Ossoff. He's a great, yeah, I mean, he seems like a great leader that is willing to make tough decisions in those pressure cooker moments. But I also look at people like Mark Kelly, who was a veteran that served his country for the Air Force and then became an astronaut. So I think we got great candidates there. As for 2026, the immediate aftermath of this midterm election, I think we are going to be able to launch a bunch of investigations which will show the American people that we really didn't need to get in this war. I mean, we have a lot of evidence to say that we didn't need to get in it. Now, how we're going to withdraw is it's a mix of military and diplomacy, right? I
do you
think
mind if I
we,
butt in real
sorry.
quick? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. No, you're good.
Um, I don't. I feel like an asshole for interrupting you. I try not to, but
No, you're totally
no.
fine, brother.
So I'm not a Republican or a Trump supporter. However, I definitely am a conservative.
Yeah.
I know the last guy just said that and you kind of scoffed at him, but
Oh, no.
uh,
Well, that's because of the way he was kind of treating me. I think you've been nothing but respectful right now. So,
I try to
um,
be. People have different viewpoints, but so I'm totally in agreement. It's going to be a bloodbath in the midterms. The Democrats are just going to wipe the floor, I think, and I hope they
well,
do because Trump
Oh,
deserves to get, subpoenaed. He deserves to get impeached. I'm hoping that I don't like JD Vance and his connections with Palantir,
oh, that shit's
and Peter
crazy,
Thiel,
isn't it? Peter
all
Thiel's a
that.
weirdo, bro. He's such a
And
weirdo. I'm
the
sorry.
same with Marco Rubio, and I'm hoping what this at least, can do. I don't support the Democrats at all, but I'm hoping that this can at least eliminate the possibility of JD Vance and Marco Rubio, because people are going to associate that with this war in Iran, and nothing that Trump promised he's accomplished. Like mass deportations did not happen. I know you're going to disagree with that probably, but that was a big campaign talking point. No new wars is a big talking point.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't work out. But anyways, to circle back, how do you anticipate that the Democrats would be able to pull us out of this war in Iran?
Yeah, so it really depends on, I mean, I hate to say it, it is very dependent on how the war kind of goes. Um, what I would say is that immediately, like I said, we're going to launch investigations, pull us out of the war. It's kind of hard to do that when you don't have control of the executive. So at the worst, if this war does continue and it's still a topic in 2028, we do have those military leaders that are able to do that. But I want to address, like, there's a lot of Americans that feel like you, man. You're not alone at all. There is a lot of people that voted for Trump, and his agenda just didn't work out. So I do think that's important to know that there are smaller Republican movements, but there are Republican movements and figures that kind of agree with you. I always shout out my homie North. He is a live streamer that is fighting for a Republican Party that is less extreme and more bipartisan, because I think that a lot of the issues we have right now is because of our partisanry, and that does happen on both sides. I always hate to say both sides because I am very much Democratic leaning, but it can happen from both aspects of the political spectrum. Um, I know you're never going to vote for a Democrat. I totally get that. I try to make my case here, and I do think that you would benefit from voting for a Democrat. But what I would recommend, because it's hard to say how we're going to get out of this war, it really is. Unfortunately, you have a lot of the Republicans kind of captured by Donald Trump, and they do have this very old kind of
I
thinking
would,
of Islamic
if
countries
you
and
mind
stuff.
butting in again, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I would say it's not just the Republicans in this. I think AIPAC has captured both parties, and
Yeah.
we're under control of Israel
Well, let
and
me tell you.
a lot of it.
Well, I
Not to
can
be.
actually address that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think APAC is actually, I think it's multiple PACs. It's not just APAC, it's the Beverage
No.
Corporation.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, it's all these political action groups that are putting money in our politics when it's supposed to be government by the people and for the people. So that is actually a big reason I support the Democrats, is because their policy position is to repeal Citizens United. Now, it's not easy is the issue. Repealing Citizens United would, there's two ways to do it that I know of. So the first way would be a constitutional amendment to make it illegal for money to be poured into our politics, or the Supreme Court overturning it. And I don't know if you know about this Supreme Court, but it is very conservative. So it's not going to, I don't think it's going to budge on that anytime soon. So the most realistic way to get Citizens United removed would be through a constitutional amendment. Now, I don't think we're ever going to get like FDR super majority levels, but I think a lot of Republicans like you have this feeling. So this kind of goes to the point I was about to say is, you know, vote for people that are more bipartisan, that don't run on this fuck the Democrats. You know, they need to give you real policy and how
See,
they're actually going to do it.
my problem with voting anything close to bipartisan or Democrat is they have this incentive. Like all politicians have any incentive of the PACs, right? And these major corporations who want more H-1Bs, they want more immigrants, right? And this is probably where we're going to disagree heavily on, is that with AI coming out, inflation going up, oil prices going up, the price of everything is going up, housing price, everything is going up, right? We need more market on, like, we need more housing available to us.
Yeah.
We need to decrease demand on all resources to lower the prices for things. This is why
Well,
I'm frustrated with Trump as well, as mass deportations never happened. He used
well,
his
they
political
they actually
capital
did.
for
They did actually. There was a lot of
what?
deportations under Trump, but unfortunately it wasn't necessarily the people that I think a lot of people thought they were going to deport. What I do want to address that though. You're speaking on a very prevalent issue, and it's the lack of job opportunity and the lack of good pay. I think that because, inflation is going to happen, all of the things are going, prices are going to raise over time. But I think the issue we're seeing right now is not a lot of people can keep up with the prices raising. Inflation, like I said, it's actually healthy to have like 2% inflation. 0% inflation would be horrible. It would actually really screw a lot of things. But so inflation is going to happen. But you're speaking on a big issue. Not a lot of people have money to pay for that. Well, why is that? It's because jobs don't have to, or jobs, companies don't have to compete for their labor anymore. They don't. Um, and so, while labor in like the farm industry and stuff like that, that's a little harder to address. We can address like factory work or even white collar work because I think a lot of these conglomerates deserve to be broken up. They are making backroom deals with the other corporations saying, okay, you get this part of the market and I get this part of the market. That's why you only see, for example, you see Dollar General is prevalent in one town, but Dollar Tree is, excuse me, prevalent in another town. They're making these backroom deals and not competing with each other. That's antithesis to this entire capitalist dream. I am a capitalist at the end of the day. I like making money as much as the next guy. But because these companies don't have to compete because they are kind of the new age, the new form of monopolies. I think they are in position to be held liable for this and to use some of our monopoly laws to work for the people. Because if a job doesn't have to compete for their labor, they don't have to treat them well. I give an example. There's a Kroger warehouse near where I live, and they treat their workers like shit. They say you're seasonal and then they'll fire you, or they'll say you're full time and treat you as seasonal. They don't give great benefits. It's all these issues. And with unions being the way they are right now, it kind of takes the government to come in and say, hey, you can't treat your workers like this. And you can't just hoard another issue is hoarding all your money in companies and stuff like that, which is addressed by simply using the laws we already have on the books to go after some of these major corporations and actually have them split up.
No, I agree with you. Like, I'm actually in the transportation industry, and I'm thankfully in a union. But I also have a part-time job under not Amazon, but Amazon, they run their company in a way where it's
Yep.
not technically monopolized, right? So
Yeah.
you'll see Amazon branded trucks, but it'll say Joe's Transportation Company, but it's an Amazon branded truck owned by Amazon that they lease out to
Exactly.
these operators to basically be a liability shield for them.
Mm-hmm.
And and they just recently actually opened up their entire transportation network to outside companies that don't even sell on Amazon. So there is a lot of that stuff that I'm not a fan of at all. I guess one point that I think this is our major point of contention to get off of this topic. Not that, I mean, I think it's a good topic to talk about, but I'm
Yeah, of
kind of
course.
interested in what you want to say. But so we're ultimately I don't want this to happen, but it's an economic reality. We're going to have to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid at a certain point, and I'm not in support of that. I don't want that to happen, but it's an economic reality of our
Well,
interest
yeah.
is too much, and in order for us to have a budget surplus and get out of this debt, because the debt's going, like, it's like we're in a toilet just spinning around going down, right?
Hmm.
And it's going to become too much at a certain point where we can't recover. I don't really know what we're going to do other than defaulting.
Oh,
Like, what
I
would
I
your
think
solution?
yeah, I actually so there's a few things you mentioned there. So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, from what I've seen, I believe it's 2032 or something like that. They may not even, I don't even think 2032. In the future, they may have to cut it down to 80% of what it is now. But I feel we are leaving a lot of money on the floor in a lot of terms. Also, the debt is very deceptive because it's actually good to have debt. Now, this goes into like a lot of economic theory that's kind of hard to explain, but essentially having a little bit of debt incentivizes people to grow their business, stuff like that. It's kind of like inflation in that respect. However, in terms of pay, you do bring up a important issue, and that is, money feels like it is very hard to it's hard to source how much money the government has and stuff like that. Um, Another point on the debt is that it is owed mostly to the taxpayer. But anyways, I want to bring that back to there are some inefficiencies in our government. I do not deny that at all. Bureaucracy, um, fraud even in some cases. I don't deny that. There's fraud happening in a lot of cases sometimes. That's why we need to invest in things like the IRS. So the IRS is designed to hold people accountable that are breaking the system, that are constantly getting away with this fraud. And unfortunately, with the IRS in the state that it is right now, they can't really afford to go after the big people or the little people because the little people would, that's just like small time fraud that over time will add up. But it's hard to open up a bunch of cases when you have limited funds. And same for the top. You're going to have to spend lots of money to actually go after these people. And so what it results in is the worst outcome. They can only go after like small little things like fucking up your taxes or something like that. And that's not what the IRS was designed for. It was designed to go after these big corporate entities and the people that are um, misusing it, right? But so,
I'm
and
gonna
I saw a study for every $1 you put in the IRS, we get $3 back. So that's money we're leaving on the table right now.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I don't, not totally, but I think that it's a money going out issue, not a money coming in issue, right? Um,
Well,
I
we
think it
see
was,
what happens when you cut funding, though.
yeah, I mean, but I read this the other day. It's like, I think it's like the top 25% pay like 70% of taxes and or something along those lines, right? Where
Uh,
it's like the bottom 50 only pays a very small percentage of taxes, right? I don't
well,
think
that
it's
makes
necessary.
sense, in my
I don't think it's
opinion.
necessarily money. No, it does make sense, but I don't think it's necessary. I think we're just overspending on everything. And to roll back to our previous discussion, I think a lot of this has to do with these forever wars that we're doing on the behalf of Israel. I don't know. I'm not. This is going to sound
So,
anti-Semitic, but I think there is a Jewish control over
no,
our government.
sir, let me
Yeah,
stop you there. That's not
yeah.
true. We don't
What do
have
you mean it's
Jewish
true?
control over our government, sir. So, the
Yes,
reason
you
we have
do.
such a close relationship with Israel is because they have been a huge ally of us, and they do provide services in terms of anti counterterrorism and stuff like that. But I already told you how we can get rid of the money from Israel. So a lot of, and I don't think Israel necessarily convinces us to go to war. I think typically when we go to war, we are orienting that way anyways, and it's our fault for even allowing, like, this Iran war, right? I do think Israel kind of goaded us into it, but that's only after Donald Trump stupidly put hundreds of troops outside and gave them the perfect casus belli to go to war.
I
It's
mean,
unfortunately it's not just Israel, and I don't think Israel is really. I think what Israel is dealing with in terms of their inner politics is a crazy far right regime that has bended the rules of their politics and has kind of made Benjamin Netanyahu into a despot. I think we're going to see a change in that in these upcoming elections. And
so
the go on.
to to give you a rebuttal on that, I mean, I would say that you look at the Adelsons, you look at, I mean,
Okay,
look at
sir, it's
all
not
who
the
controls.
Adelsons.
Can you please? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to
I
be
well,
rude
I
here.
well,
Just if you
this
hear out
is
my
I know,
and then
but you're
count.
going into anti-Semitic conspiracy, and I
Right,
can
but then
understand
count
how
that.
that can definitely link into anti-Zionism and stuff, but you are saying an anti-Semitic conspiracy, and I don't allow that on my channel, man.
I mean, I'm not necessarily I'm not saying anti-Semitic. I'm just pointing out the facts, right? I don't
You're
have a
just
problem against Jewish,
noticing.
not all Jewish people. Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying
Oh man, that's not good that you said. Yeah, exactly. Listen, man, it's not a Jewish conspiracy. I promise you it's not.
it's not all
If you
Jewish people.
well, if you look at the
I,
geopolitics of the entire world, you can see why these things happen. It's not just because of Israel that we got into the Iraq war. It's not just because of Israel we went into Afghanistan. And it's not just because of Israel we're in Iran right now. There were decisions made by American leaders that put us into those positions. It's not because, we have to be the bigger brother when it comes to Israel. We have to tell them when they're going too far. And I think we see that. We saw that with Biden. We didn't invade Iran under Biden. He prevented them from invading Rafah for 3 months, and we saw that under Obama. But we don't see that under Bush. We don't see that under Trump.
well,
And I
I mean,
think that is
think
much more revealing.
I mean, so I'll just put it to you this way. I'm gonna try to avoid any comments that you might deem anti-Semitic. I promise you, I'm not, because I don't hold every Jewish person like accountable. It's not like every Jewish person is in on this grand conspiracy. But if you don't notice that there's a World Jewish Conference and that there is a
There's a
like
World Muslim Conference.
right, they're working together, right? And I mean, but like, is that anti-Semitic to say that they're
Well, it's
working for
just
the benefit of
naive.
the
No
Jewish
offense.
people?
It's just naive to think this entire thing, like the news that we're being shown isn't real and that all, like, it kind of bleeds into those ideas, and I just disagree. I think there's a World Christian Conference, there's a World Muslim Conference. I don't think they're working together.
No, well, what I guess what I'm saying is that like Jewish people as a group, Muslim people as a group, Christian people as a group, they work together to do what's in the benefit of their group. Is that fair to say?
Not necessarily, because I think there have been a lot of great Christians that have not put forward their Christian beliefs into our system, just like I think the same with Muslims, and just like I think the same with Jews and Hindus and all the other great religions of the world.
I mean, I would just say like you look at who controls the media, you look at who controls Congress and APEC, and
But
I'm
APAC,
just
you
saying,
even agree,
but
APAC isn't the only pack. There's bigger
no,
packs than
absolutely
APAC.
not. No, there's a bunch of different funds that
Yeah,
corrupt our
and
government,
I
and
do
it's
think
not
you're
just APEC issue. But I will say that you look at the war in Libya, the fall of Bashar al-Assad, the war in Iraq, us
Bashar
paying
al-Assad
Egypt
was evil,
and
bro. He was evil. He
Bashar
chemically
al-Assad, yeah,
bombed. He
I mean,
chemically
I,
bombed his own people. The rev. What happened with HTS? HTS was funded by Turkey, not Israel. And HTS, I actually really respect the new leader of Syria. He's even saying he Donald Trump tried to get him to go into like
Al-Qaeda, man.
Lebanon. Huh?
He's like literally a former terrorist.
Yeah, that's expected in that region, man. Unfortunately, they were fighting a bloody, bloody civil war. And so it kind of makes sense that somebody who is a veteran of bloody, bloody war would rise to the ranks. But look at what his actions are. He's not saying
okay,
he wants to take over the
that's true.
people.
I mean, we did form the Mujahideen, right? I mean, you know about that or no?
Yes, I know about the Mujahideen
Yeah.
and how they turned into the Taliban. Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm just making sure we're on the same page. It's kind of deep
Or not the
info,
Taliban,
but
but kind of.
anyways,
My
I mean, but I
apologies.
guess what I'm saying is, you look at Libya, Syria. I'm not going to deny Bashar al-Assad was a bad guy. I'm not going to deny Saddam was a bad guy. But you like look at these wars, and it's like we've systematically taken out all of Israel's enemies in the region, right?
We haven't taken out Qatar. We have, I mean, Qatar isn't even bigger. There's actually currently a kind of a block being formed, like kind of a Cold War in the Middle East between Israel, or not Qatar, UAE, my bad. So it's Qatar and Israel, I believe, are on one side, and Saudi Arabia, UAE, are on the other, and they're currently kind of fighting each other. And I'd say they're a bigger threat than, well, I won't say Iran was a big threat to Israel, but that's just because they are extremely theological, and they're gonna hate Jews regardless, unfortunately. So that, and it all goes back to the idea of, they play very much on the idea of when Israel was founded. There was a, it's, this is a big ass history, you know what I mean? But
Right.
essentially,
Yeah.
they demonize Israel because of what happened during the founding and the Nakba, and then the 6 Day War. Israel kind of embarrassed some of the Arab nations, and it's not
Well,
like
they
it was
also
just
blew up.
because they did not blow up the USS Liberty, sir.
What do
That
you mean
that
they did?
is an anti-Semitic conspiracy.
No, but that's the truth, though,
It's
right?
not
I
the
mean,
truth. Not
Israel,
according to our military, and not according to even Israel.
it maybe not intentionally, right? But as a matter of fact, they did blow up the USS
It's
Liberty.
not a matter of fact.
It certainly is. They
Point
apologized.
to who? Point to who? Yeah, because there was a miscommunication and they thought they had fired upon it. But they didn't. There's no military, all the military investigations point to Egypt blowing up the USS Liberty, not Israel.
I have to disagree with you on that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way, but I do disagree with you on that. I'm 99% sure the USS Liberty was attacked by Israel. There's
It
multiple
wasn't.
accounts.
Yeah,
Israel,
there's multiple accounts of UFOs, man.
but what
Does that make
about
them
them?
all real?
They literally called for reinforcements. I think who was it? Sorry, it's been a while since I read up on this, but the vice president called them back or something like that, or the secretary of war. But no, like there's a major like, why is
And
there so
also,
much weird?
it
What
wasn't
about
sunk.
9/11, the dancing Israelis? I mean, there's a lot
Bro,
of
no
weird.
way you just brought up the dancing Israelis, bro. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah. I mean, it's stuff that should be talked about, right? You can't just believe.
No, I could show you 100 videos of people celebrating during 9/11 and not even realizing what they were doing. Why would they allow what? So dancing Israelis, so dancing Hasidic Jews, by the way. We don't even know if they were Israelis. How do we know that those people were representative of the entire Israeli government and not just a bunch of crazy dudes?
I mean, they literally went back to Israel. They were identified as Israeli.
Okay. Does that mean they planned 9/11 to happen?
maybe not necessarily, but there's a lot of weird coincidences when you put them all together. I think that was a invitation for us to go to war in Iraq. I mean, I think the Epstein files was obviously a Mossad.
No, my God, there's no
Yeah,
evidence
man.
that he was a Mossad agent, sir. Maxwell's
Oh
father.
my
See,
God. Yeah,
coincidences. That's just the thing. Does
look
coincidence?
at Ghislaine Maxwell's father, who worked with Khashoggi. Like, there's
Yeah, I know,
so.
bro. I know he worked with the Mossad. I know. That doesn't mean Epstein worked with Mossad, sir.
I mean, you're correct, and I give you credit there. You're correct, but once there's so many coincidences, is it really a coincidence?
Yes. See, I think this is interesting because Judaism is a ethno-religious thing, right? And so necessarily it intends that not a lot of people will be part of the the religion, right? And so it's easy for us to be like, just point out all these coincidences, but I could do the same with Christianity. Oh, isn't it a coincidence that Christians somehow they've captured the entire American government? What a coincidence, and I could do this exact same thing. Uh, so yeah, I don't think that this necessarily tracks. And I do think that whether or not I don't think you are like necessarily anti-Semitic, but you've bought into a
No.
lot of conspiracies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just for me at
But those
least.
aren't
Like, I
like
was
those aren't the fun
a
conspiracies, man. You could get into there's so many like way funner conspiracies than anti-Semitism.
I
Like,
mean, I'm
dude,
just
the
saying, like,
conspiracy of
once you.
like Mothman being a time traveler, that's way fucking sicker than a bunch of Jews controlling the world. And at least
I
that
mean,
has
yeah.
like even more evidence, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot more fun, but like,
And it's
I'm just
just
saying, like, once you like
they're just
JFK,
as
like them
valid.
having these nukes that they stole from Pennsylvania, or they stole the material from Pennsylvania to develop their nuclear program, which they may or may not have, right? Like, I'm just saying, once you go down one conspiracy, and the conspiracy kind of points
Well,
in the general direction
that's a
of Israel.
that yeah, but you know why people blame Jews all the time? It's
Why?
exactly what I said. Because they are an ethno-religious group that necessarily won't have very many people be a part of it because they are Judaism is an interesting religion. I think Kabbalah is actually kind of a cool little magic system. But what I'm trying to say is that it's an easy scapegoat. We see this time and time again in history where when things are going bad, they blame the Jews. And that's just not the case, man. Unfortunately, it's much easier to buy in that Jews are the ones causing this than actually dealing with the geoeconomic or the geopolitical realities of things. What
But
happens
here's
if we
the
cut off
point.
what if we split from Israel completely? Do you think that is going to change corporations from donating money to us? Do you think that's going to change different foreign actors trying to intervene in our politics?
Well,
Not
I
at
think it
all.
that would keep us out of the Middle East, right? If we could have a better
No.
relationship with oil, like OPEC, then
I don't want to have
yeah,
good relations with people like Russia and
why not?
I
I mean,
why not?
as like a
Because they're killing
right?
Ukrainians right now.
Well, understandable, like that's not good, right? But wouldn't it benefit the United States to have good relationships with all countries, right? We don't
No,
want to
I
be in a
think it's
state of.
better to be in the position we were during the fall of the Soviet Union and the subsequent years after, as being the dominant power that fights for freedom, liberty, and democracy. And
But that's not necessarily our.
if Russia wants to continue to let Putin be in charge rather than let the people use their political power, then I think we should have invaded Russia when Ukraine tried to, or when they invaded Ukraine.
Absolutely not. I mean, I just
What, are you
disagree. There's
afraid of
not.
their water-filled nukes?
No, I don't think that they're water-filled nukes, but I don't. They're
No,
a
they are.
major
Have you not seen
oil-producing
this?
country. You
No,
have to understand
they're weak
us
as
being
hell, sir. They're getting fucked up by a country that is like 200 times smaller than them. They're
but us
weak. They're a
us having
pathetic nation that needs to fall so actual
us having
real change can happen.
us having a beef with Russia is only forcing Russia and China together. We're creating.
No, what it's for, China is about to invade Siberia, or not Siberia. There's an area that's contentious between them. They're not best friends at all. That's why this war in Iran is horrible, because it does
No,
push
that's what I'm
China
saying. Is
towards
like
Russia.
Russia would be our natural ally in the
No, they
eventual conflict
wouldn't.
with China. Yeah, they
Why
would.
would they be a natural ally?
Because China is our
They
major
hold
problem. Right?
they hold no ideological threads. They hate us. You know that. The real people chanting death to America are Russians,
Well,
not
they're white.
Iranians. They do
They're
that.
white.
Who
I
cares?
think a big problem is, well, I think a big problem also
I'm
to
Russian and I fled from that time, or I didn't, but my family fled from that tyranny. We have nothing in common with Russia, sir.
well, okay, but I guess what I'm saying is that I think the white countries need to join up together. I mean, I think Europe is being invaded by brown people and America
All
is
right,
being
now this
invaded by
is getting
brown
a little
people.
racist, not gonna lie.
I mean, but it's true, right? I mean, I
No,
think
it's not true. Yeah, because white people, we have enjoyed this great wealth. And you know what happens with a population that begins to experience wealth and an increased economic living standard? They stop having babies. Okay? It's inevitable. This always happens with nations that get rich. We stop having babies. And so we're not importing people to replace us. We're making the calculation that we need these people to become American so they can, I mean, I guess replace us. I mean, yeah, they will replace us someday. Everybody will be a light brown color someday, man.
I mean, if we're talking about, like, we were talking about this earlier, right? Lack of jobs, and we were talking about AI taking a lot of jobs. Why are we still having brown people come here if
Yeah, I just
we,
told you that doesn't address my point.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is like if we're having a lower birth rate and but our
That's
like
because of our
amount of
wealth.
jobs,
We got to become poor. You want to become poor?
but if we're also losing jobs, no, I don't want to become poor, but if we're also losing jobs, right? Why are we still bringing in immigrants that's if we're losing jobs to AI, right? The economy's about to go into shit. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, there's going to be a limited amount of jobs, a limited amount of housing. The economy's about to go up in flames, and we're bringing in immigrants that are going to be on government subsidies in a lot of cases.
That's not true. They're on state subsidies, which the federal government has no purview, and a state has their
Well,
own purview about what they do with their programs, and if people don't like that in their state, they can vote those people out. Now, I want to address your labor concern. You already agreed that companies are the ones that are doing most of this ill treatment of their workers. And I agree, AI is going to become a real problem. So at that point, we're probably going to need some form of universal basic income. But until then, these immigrants are actually amazing economically for the country.
No, I agree. No, I agree with you because they're consumers, right? So they're adding to that, and they're also lowering the labor cost, right? It's good for the federal government, right, and our GDP. It looks good on paper, but it hurts the average, not Native American, but American-born
Well, it
citizen, right?
actually, from all the data I've seen, it actually enables us to do their jobs. So as the native born Americans, I guess, as you could say, it actually allows us to do the more high skilled jobs, and for the people that are just making a name for themselves in this country to do the lower skilled jobs. The example I give is to build a house, you need to frame it. And then you need people to come in and do the drywall. And then by the time you get to an electrician, a plumber, and all the other types of jobs, those will be Americans. While the more, and I hate using that because if you're here from the country, I mean, anyways, but the people doing the framing will be the undocumented and the just moved in here Americans, right? To whereas the higher skilled people will do jobs at Americans will have access to the higher skilled jobs before. And you did address, they are consumers. They pay, and the studies I've seen, now given they're from the Cato Institute, and I know that's a scary institute for the Republicans a lot of the time, but from all the data I've seen, it seems as though they pave their way in. It's actually documented citizens that pay more in. So that seems to me like we kind of need to incentivize these undocumented citizens to become documented. And then also the people that are hiding, the people that are trying to evade capture, they're doing that for a reason because it's easy now. You can become an American citizen if you've been here for longer than 5 years. You pay a little more in taxes. Now it's easy to become an American citizen, especially if you're not just getting thrown into a cell like this, thrown into a cell. Those people are the people that are doing malfeasance. Those people are the people that are doing, bringing drugs into the country. And I know that wasn't your original point, but I think I addressed that with the enabling of higher skilled jobs point.
No, I mean that's a valid point, and I'll concede that to you at least in that regard. I think that was a valid point. Question for you: Are you white?
Am I white?
Yeah.
I'm as black as the asphalt, man. Yes, I'm white.
Damn, dude.
I'm white.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were gonna get blackface there. No, I'm just playing. No. So I mean, I would assume with you're Democrat. You're more on the left side, right? You don't agree with colonialism, right? Where whites were going into different brown countries, right?
Well, I don't think it was, I don't think it was good. No, not at all. But I understand what the effects of colonialism is. And you could say what America, having a global hegemon is a bit of colonialism. I would fire back with, the poverty rate since America has been the global hegemon just across the world has completely plummeted. It's actually kind of insane. And that's because when you incentivize democracies and stuff like that, great results happen for the people. Who would have guessed?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I think China's doing very good right now. They're not really a democracy.
Well, actually, you bring up an interesting point because I would disagree. Now, of course, China right now is pointed to and say they're the next up, right? Well, they're dealing with a lot of issues themselves. Issues that you don't hear about because of China's system, right? They don't allow freedom of journalism. They don't allow freedom of speech. But let me tell you some of the issues China is dealing with right now. So the biggest issue right now, they have an aging population 10 times worse than the issue we have right now. And the big issue for China is they're racist as fuck. And I mean as fuck. They're not going to allow these immigrants to come in because they're so racist and they think the the Han Chinese are the best, God's gift to earth. And so that's making them suffer. But it's not just that. There's also the issue.
It's supposed to have like a homogenous population, right? Like, I mean, I think blacks have Africa, Middle Eastern, like Arabs have the.
I think that we all gotta just accept that because, we're all gonna become brown at some point, man. Our ancestors, they're all gonna look the same eventually, my friend.
I think preserving culture is very important. I think
you can preserve culture without race.
Nah, dude. I mean,
why not? Okay, so tell me what stories.
Right? We don't. England
Why do you think race and culture are the same thing?
Man, because like look at England, right? That's a Christian white nation, and then now they have all these Muslims coming in there doing the call to prayer. Those people don't want that. Ireland doesn't want that.
That's
The
not true at
Europeans don't
all.
want
That's because of a huge right-wing narrative, man. That's not because of the culture shifting. Those people that are Muslim are going to enjoy the same cultural trends and cultural stories that the Englanders do. They just have a different
no,
religion.
no. Look at
Why?
the yeah, what was that kid's name? The Sikh guy stabbed him. Damn, what was that kid's name? Yeah, some white kid over there got stabbed by some Sikh dude. They're not allowed to carry knives, but because it was his culture, he
So
was
he was
allowed to carry
breaking
it.
the law. No, that's not because of the
Well,
culture. He was
dude, I guess
breaking
what
the
I'm
law,
saying,
sir.
look at, but you look at like the rape rates, and you look at like the stabbing
Listen,
rates.
I
Crime goes
don't know about
up.
UK politics, so I don't indulge myself in European politics. I'm focused on America.
Okay,
Okay,
that's fair.
so
We can talk about
America is
America.
different from England in a lot of ways. They're the fucking people we rebelled against. We have a long history of inclusiveness, tradition, the tradition of democracy and representative voices. So there's a lot of differences between us and England. I have a friend Lonerbox who you might be interested in if you want to talk about English politics, but I don't know much
No,
about England. I don't know
definitely
about the
that.
rape rates and all that. But
Or as a reference to just in general, white countries should remain predominantly white,
no,
right?
not at
Like I'm
all.
not
Why
a
are you
fan.
so concerned about race? Race is not established to culture, my friend.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
No, it
does.
doesn't.
Look at
So a
blacks in America.
Mexican, so I know some Mexican Americans that are far more patriotic and carry the tradition of America far more than some white dudes I know.
Well, that's great, and I'm happy for that. Like,
But
but
that, but
the
it's antithesis
the
to your
truth of the
idea.
matter,
It's
the truth
antithesis
of the
to your idea.
well,
So
the
it's
truth
not
is
well
that
and good.
you look at crime statistics, blacks are like what, like 13%, but even less than that because it's black men, and they commit like 50% of the crime. It's like,
So that's
well,
actually a wrong
okay,
statistic, believe it or not.
well,
That's a racist talk. That statistic is not actually true, unfortunately. I can look up the
dude,
real rate for you real quick.
if I was walking, yeah, tell me the real statistic, please. Actually, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm actually
No,
curious.
you're good.
Again, I'm so sorry if I'm coming across as like
No, you're
being an
fine,
ass.
man. I'm being confrontational because some of these points are racist. They are bigoted, but that doesn't mean I hate you. I
Okay,
just don't think you've been exposed to the same information as me, and I don't hate people for not knowing things. You know what I mean? That's stupid.
I got you. I'm just, yeah, I don't know, man. I live
Yeah,
in the
here I'm.
city, and if I walk past a bunch of black kids, I'd rather cross the street than if I saw a white kid walking my way. You get what I'm saying? Like, I've been
So
robbed at gunpoint twice, like, and after a while, it's not even racism. It's just pattern recognition.
well, see, pattern recognition is racism, actually, because the idea that this entire group, these stereotypes are representative of an entire group, there will always be exceptions. And it kind of denies why this group is in the situation that they are in. Poverty, sorry, excuse me, slavery was a horrible thing, obviously. And unfortunately, we do struggle with racism here in America. I still think it's prevalent in a lot of smaller towns. I live in Kansas, and if I drive out to one of the small towns, I'm sure I could hear the N-word if I was really listening. So again, like racism is prevalent. And while it's not systematic, while it is not driven by the government, I would disagree with the SCOTUS rulings, but anyways, while it's not driven by the government, it is still very much in our fabric right now. And so racism, when it's in our kind of in our culture, I guess you would say, can lead to bad outcomes for African American individuals, but it's also you know, coming out of slavery was very difficult and Reconstruction was not an easy process, I'm sure, and we still struggle with these things today. Now, that doesn't mean everyone's just every white person is inherently racist, yada, yada, yada. But what it does mean is that some things we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and understand, you know, how this happened. And it's not shame or guilt or anything like that. It's making sure that Americans, regardless of skin color, regardless of quote unquote culture, all have an opportunity in this amazing experiment that has gone on for 250 years and I think we'll go on for we'll be in space and then we'll dissolve and be the United Colonies of America.
I have a question for you regarding like, so I agree that I think blacks like and other brown skinned people they can do just as well as white people, right? But do you think there's any correlation with their IQ being lower on average? And I'm not trying to be like a dickhead about that, but like
No.
that's just like a fact.
So here's the issue is that this goes into the bell curve, and the bell curve is not representative. It was actually, there's a lot of issues with that book and that theory. So, the reason that Africa, for example, they don't have necessarily high IQ, again, I don't think IQ is like a great way to measure somebody's intelligence. You know, a person can be pretty dumb in some areas, but really smart in other areas. But the reason for that is because we had kind of fucked them over. And the IQ test is also very Western centric in terms of like how we see patterns and stuff. And it doesn't take into account the different thought patterns that may develop in certain cultures, you know? So I don't think IQ is a great example. And I think the reason that Africa and some Latin America countries experience lower IQ rates is much more because of the wealth disparity. I don't think it's necessarily because they're black, so they're going to have so they're going to have a lesser IQ. It's because they've experienced a lot of poverty and they were put in a bad position during colonialism. And, you know, hundreds of years of exploiting a population is going to do some bad things to their wealth, you know?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, how do you fix the blacks just committing god awful a lot of crime and killing each
Yeah.
other then?
Well, I understand. And I think we were on a pretty good track for a while. We have kind of steered off the direction, but the way you fix it is it is sometime it is going to be a societal thing. But I think we were on track. It's just accepting everybody for who they are. I don't think we necessarily need to pay reparations or anything like that. Um, like I said, in America at least, we were on a very good track of addressing this issue. I think we've kind of steered off the track. This doesn't mean like DEI or anything like that. It really does just come from providing more opportunities for everybody. So that way, you know, African American people have a chance to shine just the same as a white person does, you know? It
Now,
really is more an
I just saw,
opportunity, opening
my
up
bad.
opportunities for people.
I just saw this comment here, and it reminded me of a point I wanted to make with you. I apologize for interrupting you in that way. That was kind of rude of me. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
So what do you think about like the fall of Rhodesia, right? We gave education and all these opportunities to these
Yeah,
Africans there, and
yeah,
then you
that
look at
was a bunch of white
now,
people. Rhodesia was a bunch of white
Zimbabwe.
people, man. And you know why?
Yeah,
You know why they benefited from that? Because they had colonial backers and they were basically an extension of, I believe, Britain, right?
it was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why, because it was basically a proxy state of Britain. And you say, look at it now. Well, once the wealthy people leave and they leave nothing for the people that are coming, yeah, and they don't leave any governmental structure and they just, yeah, it's gonna be hard to reestablish yourself.
Well, So
But I look
actually,
at countries like South America. South America's doing great right now, and they reintegrated, and I think it's doing great. And then there's also smaller nations popping up, like what's the name? One moment, I believe Bosnia, but could be wrong about that. There are African countries actually making pretty big steps now. Another big issue is that there is a lot of war in Africa right now, and that's not conducive to creating a good environment to raise people's living standards. And this is where I think America should come in. I think America should come in and say, you can't, like the Sudanese civil war. Have you heard anything about that recently?
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, the
I mean, it's
RSF
just
are war criminals, in my opinion. Like, it's pretty. What they did to Al Fasher is fucking I mean, you could see the blood from satellite pictures.
I
And
guess
so
what I'm
yeah,
saying
it's
that
hard to
just
it's hard
South,
to
uh,
establish yourself.
just
What's
in
up?
South Africa, Rhodesia, right, where the white colonists came in, they built up the civilization, raised the living standards for everybody, and then there was a communist takeover in Rhodesia after Britain stopped supporting them. It was called the Rhodesian Bush War. It was one of the best wars ever. Actually, my wife is calling me, but anyways, look into that.
I've looked into it
What?
not extensively, but I do know what happened in Rhodesia, and I don't think the people that were killed by the Rhodesian government were they didn't do anything really wrong, and I understand why there would be a revolution. I don't think the route they took was great, but unfortunately that had a lot to do with the USSR and stuff like that. Communism was constantly perpetuated. But you said your
Also,
wife was calling, so I don't want to
yes,
hold you. Have a great day, man.
look at the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah, my family ran away from that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Bye bye.
all right, have a great day. Unfortunately, guys, I am going to have to get out of here. We did not hit the goal, but that's okay. You guys donated a lot today, and I really appreciate it. So I am going to head on up out of here. I really appreciate all the calls today. That one, I would just challenge that man to kind of understand the wider implications of geopolitical things and stuff like that. It sounds like he might watch a little bit of Nick Fuentes, and I think Nick Fuentes is very damaging and a very harmful individual just because of all the ideas he perpetuates. But it did give me a good opportunity to show him that there are actual reasons for this, and it's not just race. It's not just because people are Jewish. We have a lot of issues in the world, and they're not just solved by a simple, oh well, it's because of their race, oh it's because of they're Jewish. It's a pretty complex thing. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let me give a huge shout out to, one moment, Soros for paying me £3. I appreciate that. Shavila sending $4, and Crank That Drive with the $5. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I will be live tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. CST, where I'll be talking about the news and politics, and then in the evening, same time tomorrow, 5 p.m. CST, where I'll be debating. So with that being said, let me turn on the lights and get the music going. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And we're going to play a little Christiana Gartha theme. Have a great night, guys. Stay tuned. I'll be raiding you into a different channel. So make sure you tell them that guy doesn't exist sent you. Anyways, with that being said, this is Christian Agartha. Bye, Silt Strider. Have a great day. I'll be in the Discord later tonight, by the way. So if you guys want to join the Discord, I'll send the link right before I leave. Oh, I'm sorry, Sims 2 Serious. You can call in tomorrow, and even in the morning tomorrow, you can call in, brother. You're a homie. Join the Discord. Fridays I do like my audience calls and stuff like that during the morning. Anyways, have a great day, guys.